Hello, and welcome to the Dad Lab Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Matt.
And I'm Andrew.
On today's episode, in the Newsdesk, we have stories about ancient mummies, hole-in-ones, fake bread, and guitar heroes. In keeping with the theme of guitar heroes, we put our all-time favorite guitar players on our Mount Rushmore. We have a difficult choice in our Pick Your Poison segment, and we continue our Three Ninjas trilogy watch and review. We'll talk about the NFL's COVID outbreak and Cowboys' misery on this episode of the Dad Lab Podcast. And before we get started, again, I'm going to ask a favor of all you guys, if you could leave a rating and review on iTunes and Apple Podcast. It really helps us while we're trying to get this thing off the ground and get it to grow. And we appreciate everybody who's reached out and left comments and ratings for us. You can follow us on social media at The Dad Lab on Instagram and Twitter. And you can email us at thedadlabpod@gmail.com with any questions or comments you might have. So what's up, man? It's good to be back. Feels good to be back.
Always feels good to be back.
Favorite day of the week?
Podcast day.
So what have you been up to?
Well, the wife had big news. She had the grand opening of her new shop because they had to move locations.
Yeah.
Moved during the pandemic, renamed it. It's now the Mosaic Hideaway. It's right there off West Main for anybody that's, in our area. And she opened it up so that it's like a house that she shares with the yoga studio that she also teaches at. So half the house is her Mosaic shop, the other half is a yoga studio. So we had a grand opening, ribbon cutting ceremony. The local paper was out and everything.
Yeah, I'm bummed we missed it. I got bad information. I thought it was at 6:30, but it was at 4.
That was probably me that told you that.
And I was like, oh, we have time. We'll go pick up Landry.
Yeah, it started at 2:30 or 3. It started at 3. Ribbon cutting was at 4. Claire didn't leave until 9 because they did what they called a moonlight yoga session outside. So and all that. But yeah, I took Elizabeth up there. Just way too many people for me.
Yeah.
I'm such an introvert. Don't like social gatherings, especially with people I don't know. And it's the main focus was at the yoga studio because she set up booths inside, other yoga teachers that have little side jobs. They sell candles, they sell crystals, all this yoga-esque stuff. So they were there with all their friends and family and just so many people around. And I was just with Ellie the whole time. And then she wanted to play hide and seek with some other kids, which everyone else was cool with, but not me because she's running around with strangers hiding in weird places. So I was freaked out about that. And luckily my brother-in-law was there. I just hung out with, I was with Ellie and my brother-in-law Dakota the whole time, just avoiding human contact. Taco truck did show up, so I got some tacos.
Was that good?
That was the chicken was good. It was weird because it was almost like an orangish red chicken. I guess he seasoned it a certain way.
Probably used some cumin.
The color was
something.
I can't describe it. It was a different color of chicken. So flavorful though. And then I got some brisket. Brisket can always be hit or miss, especially if it's not from a barbecue shop. Brisket wasn't that good, but I'm just just supporting all those businesses. I left Claire with $20 and she told her just to buy something from a few of the vendors. We were there for a few hours. I left with Ellie. We went to the park. So it was cool with Claire. She was really looking forward to it. She's really worked hard to get everything moved and set up. I'm really proud of her. And the shop's awesome, dude. Y'all should come check it out sometime. The interior is all exactly what she wanted, so it looks awesome inside. Like I said, the other half's a yoga studio that she teaches on Tuesday nights, and they have an outdoor area that they do yoga, and she's just excited.
Yeah, we want to come check it out because Lauren's always doing different kind of arts and crafts stuff with Landry.
Yeah, Landry's
tonight, she's painting a pumpkin green and turning it into a creeper from Minecraft. She's spray painted the pumpkin green, and she's got other paints. And her and Landry, that's what they're doing while we're recording. Is they're painting the creeper character from Minecraft.
That's awesome.
On a pumpkin, and so she's always looking for crafts. And we want to support you guys. Obviously,
she would love it. It's just good times to come up there.
And I really am gonna hit up Claire for the yoga.
I told you we'll do a little private session, just me and you, and she'll teach us. Just be our instructor. We'll do it in the backyard.
Yeah, and
really chill environment.
I'm not comfortable fully talking about it on the podcast yet, but because obviously we're really good friends. I battled some anxiety and depression over the summer, and so for that benefit, I'm interested in yoga, because I was talking to Claire last week, and she said, yeah, it definitely helps with all that stuff.
Absolutely.
And I'm willing to do anything to like try to, and I do, and if you're cool with it, I do want to do like maybe like a mental health kind of episode. Maybe we could, take questions, or because I'm a huge advocate for it now. Obviously now that I've been affected by it, and it's something I deal with kind of every day. But anyway, yeah, we want to get by and let Landry pick a craft and do that, and support, because I really thought I heard it was like at 6:30. And because I texted you that day when I was going to come by. We were
I was already at the house, and I was like, man, you can still go by, but.
Did Jake ever show up? Because I was
no, not when I was there. We left at like 5.
Oh, okay.
And then she stayed for about a couple more hours, but she doesn't know Jake personally, so she wouldn't be able to tell me if he did or not.
Right. I was gonna ask, and I've kind of tiptoed around the subject, but with your wife being a yoga instructor, does that have like some added benefits, like in the marriage?
I mean, we're not like, she doesn't do like the splits on me, if that's what you're asking.
But I mean, flexibility
it's
never
a possibility,
hurts.
But I'd be like, what are you doing right now? Like, I'm just happy to be here. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm down for whatever.
I was just wondering. I mean, the flexibility and the bendiness, that's got to have some benefits for you.
It doesn't hurt. I know that.
Yeah, it never hurts.
I mean.
Because a guy like me, there's only.
I'm just laying flat on my back and grinning the whole time.
There's only a couple moves I can do.
Right before you like cramp up.
Yeah, I'll get a Charlie horse in my hamstring or something.
God, I've had that happen. I've woken up from a Charlie horse, like out of a vivid dream, and like just stretching and grabbing your leg. And
it used to happen to me in high school, like after soccer games. Like, I'd be laying in bed that night, and I would just roll out of bed with the bigot. My calf would be hard as a rock because I didn't stretch enough after. Because, when you're 16, you're
invincible.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I would wake up out of a dead sleep, and my calf or my hamstring would be just hard as a rock, and it would be the worst pain ever.
Yep.
That hadn't happened to me in a while, but, yeah, I remember that. So, yeah, no, my week, my dad, He's had a bad hip now for over a decade, and he finally had hip replacement surgery yesterday. Everything went well. He was actually in rehab today already, a day after. So
that's wild that it can be a day after.
It's the technology.
I know, that's awesome. I thought it was going to be like a weeks of progress.
No, he had a therapy session in the morning. He's
already home, or is he still there rehabbing?
And I told you he kind of had an issue a few hours after the surgery, so that kind of set everything back, or he would have been home today.
Okay.
But they're going to keep him one more night. He's got one more physical therapy session in the morning, and then he's probably going to get out in tomorrow afternoon.
Awesome.
But yeah, this technology nowadays, a lot of people are actually up and walking that day. So
just a matter of time before he's the grandpa from Three Ninjas out here kicking ass.
But it's going to be good because there for a while, if you don't have mobility, you really don't have much of a life.
Yeah, totally depend on everyone. Nobody wants to be like that.
Yeah, and so he's going to get his life back. He's going to be able to, spend, do things with, his grandkids and my son, important stuff. Yeah, and like if we went to Target or somewhere, he'd have to get one of those carts. He actually had the ball and the joint were completely gone, and then he had a hairline fracture in his
sounds so painful.
In his hip.
Sure, every step he took just.
Yeah, and he had a cane, and you could tell when he walked, there was something wrong. But he's all good. He's getting that fixed, so he's all good. Other than that, I had some of the Lord's chicken tonight for dinner. Went to Chick-fil-A.
Oh, I thought that was a new spot. I was like, man, that sounds good.
No, Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A.
That's some of that Lord. That's the Lord's chicken.
You get to Lord's chicken.
And I'm telling you, if the country or any other business was ran by Chick-fil-A, we'd be in much better shape.
It'd be utopia.
So when I pulled in, the line was, and if you're not from Waxahachie, this isn't going to make sense, but it was almost wrapped around to like Johnny Carino's next door.
Probably a good 20 cars deep.
Oh, more than that.
Yeah.
And they had people like 4 or 5 per. They had 2 lines, 4 or 5 per line, and they were taking orders. And that thing,
they walk around with like a tablet
with
up to your
the
car.
iPad, yeah. And that thing didn't stop. Like the line didn't stop. Like she was walking, taking my order, and it was just boom, boom, boom. And because when I pulled up, I was like, "Come on, babe, let's go somewhere else." She's like, "No, just watch."
Yeah, trust me.
And we didn't spend 8 minutes, 10 minutes in that line.
And they're the nicest people.
Yeah, my pleasure.
God, They really,
and they got
really
the
are
order
so
right,
sweet.
you know, and
Bunch of sweethearts. Doing
it
the
was
Lord's work.
good. And so we had some Chick-fil-A, which
I haven't
is
had
never
Chick-fil-A in
bad.
too long.
It's never
Yeah.
bad. It's always good. I got burnt out on it there for a little bit just because that's where Landry wanted to eat all the time. Because his diet is 95% chicken and French fries, like chicken nuggets or chicken strips and French fries.
Yeah.
But it was good. And other than that, just work. You know, helping my dad get ready for his surgery, and then taking care of stuff at his place, and just work. I was up at the restaurant till like 11:30 last night. We had people working on the vent. We had people working at the.
I didn't know y'all stayed over there.
No. We had people cleaning and working on the vent hood. So
that reminds me, dude. Just a side note, my dad's camper got stolen.
I
his
know.
RV storage spot.
I know. I'm sorry I didn't.
That's why we
I
went
meant
to
to
go
reach out
check
to
on. That's
you.
what reminded me. We were gonna go work on his vent hood for his camper, and we pulled up. My dad's like, "Oh, I hope it's still here." He goes, "Motherfucker, where's my camper?" He's like, "I was just kidding."
I meant to reach out to you because everybody was kind of reaching out to you. I meant to, but obviously that sucks. That's terrible.
Yep, it's gone, dude. That just reminded me of it. So I didn't mean to cut you off. I was like, yeah, that's something important that happened this week. Never even got to use it. He bought it for $3,000. Probably put another $2,000 into it, plus countless hours, and we were planning on taking it out soon. I mean, he did like a lot of exterior and interior work. Like, it was clean. And then somebody just broke the lock, jumped on 45, and they're gone. Probably, we think it's on a deer lease somewhere in Texas, you know, probably like East Texas.
And
somewhere.
they'll never find it.
Fuck no, never find it.
And the place didn't have cameras?
No. And on the website it says like they have cameras and it's secure and you'll leave it or it'll be here just how you left it, like almost like quoting it from their website. And my dad was like, they're just giving them the runaround. He had to file a police report, but he's come to terms. He was really mellow about it because he knows like nothing he can do about it. Whereas me, I was like freaking out. I was like, this is bullshit. What are we gonna do? He's like, nothing. What am I supposed to do about it? I can't just make it appear. So he took it like a champ, but I know he's bummed out. And it's his birthday this week. Man, I was going to be a dick and buy him like a little model RV camper. And be like, Dad, I got you a camper for your birthday, but he wouldn't think that's funny. So,
oh, shit.
Sorry, Dad.
That's hilarious. I mean, that's a bummer, but...
that's a hilarious bummer.
That would be hilarious if you bought him a model.
Yeah.
Or a little toy RV
I thought
or
about
camper.
it, but I didn't buy him for your dad. It's tough. I'm just going to give him like a Lowe's gift card and like some Coors Light.
Yeah, I don't.
Honestly, that's what he wants. You know,
Yeah.
I can't get him a new camper. Well, I mean, I could, but I had to like finance it for 10 years and be a hell of a gift. Hell, I got my mom a book and a.
Hey, Dad, you're good for the next decade.
Yeah, for
no
real.
Christmas, no birthday.
Nothing.
Oh, that's terrible. So with that, let's get into the news desk. In this first story, the headline reads: "Ancient mummies unearthed in Egypt after more than 2,600 years." And this story comes from NBC News. And like I said, this is in Egypt, and the story reads: more than 2,600 years after they were buried, archaeologists in Egypt said Saturday they had found at least 59 ancient coffins in a vast necropolis south of the country's capital, Cairo, one containing the pristine mummy of an ancient priest. The ornate sarcophagi had remained unopened since they were entombed near the famed steppe period of Djoser in Saqqara, according to Egypt's Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities. A sealed door was also unearthed where it is expected more mummies may lie behind, said Khalid El Anai, the Minister of Antiquities and Tourism, adding that the artifacts were in an excellent state of preservation and would be displayed in the Grand Egyptian Museum next year. So that's pretty cool, but I'm just saying, 2020 isn't the year to be opening these things.
Yeah, I've seen a Brendan Fraser movie. I've
Like,
seen all
we
three
don't
of
need
them.
any, like, they're going to open it up and, like, the plague is going to be unleashed.
I don't know why they even want to fuck with them. Like, they've been there for 2,600 years. Let them stay. Don't open it. Not this year. Not ever. Nothing has ever good come from untombing in like an Egyptian like.
No, that's how a bunch of
whatever.
movies start.
Yeah, that's how all terrible scary movies start.
The story continues. Hundreds of mummified animals, birds, and crocodiles, as well as 2 mummified lion cubs were found in the region last year. How insane is that? There are almost 3,000-year-old animals and people being unearthed today.
Nope. I'm out. They should
see.
get the consent of they should take like world population before they decide to untomb or open them up and all that, because that's a nope for me.
Yeah, 2020 isn't the year. If y'all want to do it next year or something, let's just wait, because we can't deal with anything like anymore.
No, dude,
Just No.
We're staggering right now. We're waiting for that bell to ring so we can go to our corner for 2021.
Because remember, like, right after COVID hit, they were like, here are the murder hornets.
Yeah.
Like, I like how they had the decency, like, y'all got some shit going on. We'll wait. Like, we'll come back. Because, like, you heard about it for a little bit, and then they just kind of disappeared. I think they kind of realized what was going on. Like, I think they have enough going on.
Yeah,
we'll come back. We'll come back next year. We'll be back. But you do not need to open these things. And they may have already been opened, and this may have been... I may have a little bit later, a later story. But yeah, they don't need to open these things.
No, I'm a suspicious guy, or a superstitious guy. I believe in that. I think nothing will come from that.
No. So this leads us to our next story, and I think you've got that.
I've got that. This one's a barefooted John Daly drained a hole-in-one at a charity golf tournament because, of course, he did. And of course, it's brought to you by CNN, the world leader in all the important news. This barefooted John Daly did what John Daly does this week when he delighted a group of fans by draining a hole-in-one at a charity golf tournament. Federal Club golf professional Joshua Price just so happened to be recording at the moment when Daly stepped up to the 11th hole tee box in Glen Allen, Virginia, to take his swing at Monday's Bone Frog Open to benefit fallen U.S. Navy SEALs. The two-time major champion confidently squared up wearing no shoes, no hat, his shirt untucked, and sent the ball headed straight to the hole about 130 yards away. Seconds later, cheers and high fives. Daly turned to remark, "That makes 11 of them, mother..." Nearly adding on a slur, but quickly caught himself. The professional golfer revealed last month that he was diagnosed with bladder cancer. That took a dark turn. Daly announced he underwent a procedure to remove the cancer, but said there's an 85% chance of it returning. Luckily for me, they caught it early, but bladder cancer is something that I don't know all the details. But it doesn't look like it may go away. We'll just have to see what happens. Maybe there's a miracle, Daly said. Golf pro Price, who witnessed the moment, told CNN that Daly seemed to be doing well and in good spirits, and the 54-year-old's swing looked as the same as it always has. It's just silky smooth. The guy's an absolute machine. It's unbelievable, said Price, noting that Daly was nice to everyone at the course. Just an amazing human being.
And I do have some audio of the hole-in-one.
Oh boy, here we go. He golfs, apparently. I told him, yeah. Oh! It went in! Oh my goodness. John Daly.
Oh, Gator.
So,
how much would you give to play a round of golf with John Daly?
Oh, I think if you give me the choice of catching a football from Troy Aikman or playing one-on-one with Michael Jordan or playing around with John Daly, I think I'd pick John Daly hands down. Because I think the reason he's so likable is obviously he's got talent, but I think we just relate to him so well because that's every one of us on the golf course.
Yeah.
Nine hole by hole 10, we're all barefoot, drunk with cigarettes, and we're just bombing shit down the fairway. And he can do it, and there's all these stories about him being at Hooters the night before, just pounding beers. He had no filter. He's a legend. And Absolutely. He's just one of those one-of-a-kind personalities that it just has that electricity and that magnetism to him that just draws people in. He's one of a kind.
Yeah, I completely agree. I would rather play a round of golf with Daly than a one-on-one with Jordan. Even if Jordan took it easy on me, he would still just be too competitive, dunk on me, hang his nuts on me, take my lunch money, just make me feel like shit. Whereas Daly, we would just get along so well.
You'd bro down, you'd eat some chicken wings, drink a case of probably
and then
Keystone,
we would play golf.
And then you'd play golf.
Yep. And then we do the same thing at the back nine. And
yeah, man.
Just a legend, like you said. Like, I hope he beats this cancer. Fuck cancer. Give him hell, John.
Yeah. We're praying for him for sure. So our third news item of the day, that's the headline reads, "Subway bread isn't bread, Irish court says." What a shocker. And this comes from the Associated Press, and it reads, Ireland's Supreme Court has ruled that bread sold by the fast food chain Subway contains so much sugar that it cannot legally be defined as bread.
Wow.
The ruling came in a tax dispute brought by Bookfinders Limited, an Irish Subway franchisee, which argued that some of its takeaway products, including teas, coffees, and heated sandwiches, were not liable for value-added tax. A panel of judges rejected the appeal Tuesday, ruling that the bread sold by Subway contains too much sugar to be categorized as a staple food, which is not taxed. The law makes a distinction between bread as a staple food and other baked goods which are or approach confectionery or fancy baked goods. So they're saying their bread should be in the same category as like cookies, brownies, cake, and pie.
That's crazy.
Like, I knew, and we'll do a Mount Rushmore on subs because, you know, for both of us, subs are near and dear to our hearts.
Oh, I love a good sub.
Subway is the...
It's Taco Bell.
It's the McDonald's of sandwiches. It's the Denny's of sandwiches. It is terrible. Now, pre-Jared, and this may be one of those cases where it was just better because we were young, but I feel like pre-Jerry back in the day, Subway was really good. And then somewhere, what I say, Jerry? I read your shirt.
Oh,
Jared. Yeah, pre-Jared. Jared Fogle. It was better. And then somewhere around that turn, they got super huge. And then, I don't know, or maybe I just got older and my palate developed a little bit. It's shit food.
Probably just got influenced by money. Like, I guarantee you the way they make their bread's probably cheaper than, you know, they found a way to cut a corner and mass produce this at a cheaper price for max quality or mass quantity.
It really just is shit food.
Yeah. It is. And I've always heard, like, don't get their tuna. You know, if it's later in the day, it's probably from like yesterday's tuna, and it's just sketchy. So if you're gonna get a good sub, just do yourself a favor and don't go to Subway.
The story continues. Subway disagreed with the characterization in a statement. Quote, Subway's bread is, of course, bread, the company said in an email. We have been baking fresh bread in our restaurants for more than 3 decades, and our guests return each day for sandwiches made on bread that smells as good as it tastes. It smells so good because it's loaded with sugar.
Yeah, it's like baking cookies. Those smell delicious out of the oven.
With sugar. And I have another story connected to this from, I think it was 2004. And the headline reads, Subway to remove dough conditioner chemical from bread. So it reads, take a look at the ingredients for some varieties of Subway's bread and you'll find a chemical that may seem unfamiliar and hard to pronounce. And I'm going to try here. Azod carbon amide. To say this word, you would emphasize the syllable bon, but the attention the chemical has been getting has not been good. Besides bread, the chemical is also found in yoga mats and shoe soles to add elasticity. They had to be taken to court to have this crap removed. Even though this ingredient is safe, we are removing it from Subway bread. This is a process began last year and is nearly completed. We have developed an improved bread formula, conducted extensive performance and consumer testing on it, and pending final government approvals, we should complete the entire conversion within the coming weeks, Subway said in a statement. They contradicted themselves there. If it's safe, why are you removing it?
Right.
That doesn't make sense. So if y'all need any more evidence to never go to Subway again, besides the fact that their bread is loaded with sugar, they at one point had a chemical that adds elasticity to shoes and yoga mats, and they had a pedophile spokesperson.
Yeah, it just piles on.
Here you go.
Just do yourself. Go to Jersey Mike's or Firehouse. Whatever happened to Quiznos? You see Quiznos anymore?
I don't see Quiznos
I used
anymore.
to love Quiznos.
We used to have one here in town.
Yeah, we used to have one off of, I think it was Polk, like in Duncanville. That's one I would go to.
Yeah. Anyway, just don't go to Subway. It's terrible.
I make my own subs, man. I love making subs for the week.
I don't make subs on sub rolls.
I make like an Italian sub on. I buy it from H-E-B, cut it in half, gut it like you would.
Yeah.
Put some pesto on it, all the meats
there
and
you
cheeses.
Go. I do. I love a homemade sandwich, and just on white or wheat or whatever. And I do turkey now. Here's the twist. I do the mayonnaise or mustard, what I'm feeling that day. But I put Doritos on there and then smush the
Such an
squinch.
American.
Dude, it's so good. Get some nacho cheese Doritos in your sandwich. It's so try it, man.
I did.
It probably
20 years ago.
Hey. It's good. Don't hate on me. You got our last segment, our last news story.
Last story. Rock and roll icon Eddie Van Halen died on Tuesday. R.I.P. After a lengthy battle with cancer. He was 65. The legendary guitarist was in a great deal of pain in his final days. Sources close, I guess, like his son. Van Halen's son, Wolf, confirmed the news of his death on Tuesday in somber tweet. I can't believe I'm having to write this, but my father, Edward Lodwig Van Halen, lost his long and arduous battle with cancer this morning, he wrote on Twitter. He was the best father I could have ever asked for. Every moment I shared with him, on stage and off stage, was a gift. My heart is broken, and I don't think I'll ever fully recover from this. One source close to the famed rock star opened up to People magazine about his battle and his final days, claiming that his throat cancer existed for years, but it wasn't until his last days that he suffered a rapid decline.
Yeah, I was reading, when I was doing research, I was kind of reading, I was clicking around on different stories, and I think Eddie had done an interview. Okay, here it is. It says, I used metal picks, they're brass and copper, which I always held in my mouth, in the exact place where I got the tongue cancer, he said at the time. Plus, basically, I lived in a recording studio that's filled with electromagnetic energy. So that's one theory. I mean, I was smoking and doing a lot of drugs and a lot of everything, but at the same time, my lungs are totally clear. That's just my own theory, but the doctors say it's possible.
Yeah.
So that's nuts,
I think
man.
I think it might have been the drugs and the place.
The smoking.
You can see these videos of him playing live, like, and he would come out to like do his, because back in the day, like rock bands were like way cooler, and like the guitarist would just come out for like a 10-minute solo, and he would light a cigarette, start playing a little bit, and then put it like up by where you tune it up there and the strings up there, and then just keep playing, and the cigarette's burning, and he'd pull it out, take a drag, put it back up there and sit it, and he'd light another one. Guy was just always smoking, so I mean, it sucks, but just caught up to him.
And I'm gonna go ahead and get the music portion of what I've been listening to this week out of the way right here, and I've been jamming Van Halen.
Yeah.
Because they just had so many. They had so many good songs. Jump.
Panama.
Yeah. They just had so many. And before anybody, nobody's going to write in other than Troy. Don't get me started on Van Hagar. Like, it's Sammy Hagar, get out of here. David Lee Roth are nothing for me.
Yeah. I can agree with that.
But no, Van Halen, they're obviously legends, and Eddie Van Halen and specifically, he's just a legend, and we lost a good one. You got anything else on this one?
I was going to say, cool too. I didn't realize all the way back, formed in 1974 in Pasadena, and it just talks about how this California rock band helped knock disco off the charts, starting with the late 70s with their self-titled debut album. So that's another reason just to love Van Halen for getting disco dead and gone.
And then one other thing, when I was researching, the guitar solo in "Beat It," Michael Jackson's "Beat It."
That was him.
That was him, and he did it in one take.
Dude,
he did it live in one take.
What a fucking legend.
He only did it once, and it was that perfect, and they went with
they
it.
Went, yep, that's perfect. Thanks, Eddie.
Yeah,
you're good.
And he never wanted money for it. He never got paid for it.
He would have banked on royalties for that.
He didn't want it. And I was reading about how he had quotes about Michael Jackson, just what respect he had for Michael Jackson and what a musician and performer and artist he was. And Steve Vai came out and was talking about Eddie Van Halen this week, and how very, very, very few people kind of knew the real Eddie Van Halen. So, obviously, he took it hard. But yeah, so we lost a good one this week. And like I said in the opening, keeping with the Guitar Hero and our kind of guitar player theme, in our Mount Rushmore this week, we've got our Mount Rushmore of our favorite guitar players. So I'm going to let you start.
You want to go back and forth?
We can go back and forth.
First one I got, Jimi Hendrix. I mean, he's kind of like, I guess you could say like Chuck Berry might be like the godfather of like just tearing a guitar open, but I think it's Jimmy. I mean, you heard the story. He's left-handed, but his first guitar he ever got was like a right-handed guitar. So he had to like hold it upside down, and and once he got out, I think he went to the Air Force.
He was in the Army,
and just self-taught himself like a true badass, and then went on to just like melt the faces of millions. Started his own band. He had his own recording studio, that Electric Ladyland.
So he's on mine. So I'll just kind of piggyback.
Yeah, we can just piggyback. So if you got yours, just keep going off Jimmy.
Yeah. He had Hey Joe, Purple Haze, Foxy Lady, The Wind Cries Mary. I mean, those are just 4
songs that get covered in today by famous artists. Still loved and revered.
And how many people has he shaped and kind of inspired? He's one of the legends. What else can you say? How did he get over to Liverpool? Because Liverpool kind of claims him over in England, and I want to say he spent some time over there. And I think we're gonna make T-shirts that say I didn't do the research or I need to do the research.
Next week.
But yeah, he spent some time over in England.
Well, if that's the case, then we'll take.
But he was born in Seattle.
Yeah, he started in the U.S. Army.
But somehow Liverpool claims him. But yeah, I don't know. But he's a legend, and I have a feeling we're going to share quite a few.
Yeah.
We're going to share quite a few
I
on this.
I got one that you definitely.
I've got one probably that you don't have, and
we'll see.
And then I've got honorable mention that I know you don't have that really just got into my personal. Okay. Kind of favorite bands and stuff like that. But my first one on my list is Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Yep, he was second on my list, which they're not in order.
Yeah, they're not.
But
order
Jimmy
I
and Stevie would be my one too.
Yeah, written down.
I put on here. He's local and he's my personal favorite.
Yeah, well, he's
good enough.
He's from Oak Cliff, and my dad went to junior high with him. Yeah, they went to Stockard Junior High, and my dad said back even in junior high, his classic look, like he had like the buckskin kind of look jacket with like the frills hanging off of it, like he always in the bell bottoms, like he always had that in the hats.
Yeah, the hats.
Like he just kind of had that look, and my dad said like he had that look going all the way back to junior high. And my dad always tells this story about the football players one day picked him up and folded him like a lawn chair and stuffed him in a trash can in the lunchroom and then dumped their trays on him. So my dad walked over there, and not to say my dad was a badass, but my dad, he kind of ran in a tougher crowd, and he knew how to take care of himself. So Dad said he kind of he didn't run him off, but he's like, hey, get out of here. He picked Stevie out of the trash can, and he's like, Steve, if you didn't dress like that, you wouldn't get picked on, right? And Dad said, he just said, yeah, I'm not going to change. He's like, it is what it is.
He rocked that style for the next 20 years until he died.
Yeah. So he's an Oak Cliff boy. Like my parents, they grew up in Oak Cliff. Texas Flood. Pride and Joy, probably one of my favorites ever.
Ten Pin Alleys might be my favorite.
And if you ever get a chance, if you ever get curious, if you're going 35 north up toward Dallas, you got Laurelland right there.
Yeah, it's Breezeberry.
Yeah, you can go in there.
My father-in-law, because my dad's the biggest Stevie Ray fan I knew, and my father-in-law was like the second. Just by coincidence, he's buried like less than 100 yards from him. So when we go see my father-in-law, Claire's dad, we'll like, shit, let's go find Stevie.
Yeah, and people are throwing guitar picks on there all the time.
There's always something there for him. Usually guitar picks, like you said, but yeah, there's always something to remember him by. I mean, guy's a fucking legend, homegrown legend. And
he's got a brother, Jimmy, and he's still playing. Yeah, you can catch him around Dallas. You can
find good like cover bands. Me and my dad saw a band called Voodoo Child, and there was a guy from like Argentina, but he had the same look, played almost as good guitar as him, and then sang just like him. We were like, that's the greatest cover artist.
It's like the dude who Journey got.
Yeah, that sounded.
Because I love Journey. People make fun of me, but I love Journey, and I love Steve Perry. And if you told me that there was a guy out there, and if I shut my eyes,
you could hear.
I'd be like, you're nuts. But that little Asian dude,
yeah, he's like a little Asian guy. Wasn't he from like Vietnam?
Yeah, he belts it, man. He is so good. I love Journey.
Yeah, Alice in Chains kind of the same way. They replaced, and he was I believe he was a black dude replacing Lane Stanley.
Mm-hmm, yep.
Close your eyes, same thing, dude. You'd be like, yeah, that's Lane Stanley.
Who's your third?
I'm gonna save my wild card for the end. So
I will too, because I think we're gonna go 3 for 3 here.
Is it Jimmy Page?
It's Jimmy Page.
Yeah, I was gonna say arguably the guitarist for like I would say the greatest rock band of all time.
Yeah.
The only one that would revival that for me is Black Sabbath because I'm a big Black Sabbath fan. But if you can't go wrong with it, any Led Zeppelin, you know, all the way up until what was it, like Coda was like their 9th album. Like all their albums are solid. That's like when, like I was saying with that's when guitar songs would have like a fucking 5-minute solo break for the guitarist, you know, and you would just be like his moment to step up,
and then everybody would go get a drink or a cigarette or whatever,
smoke, you know, like that's when like I loved like music back then, man. Because now when you hear like a good solo on the radio, you'd be like, it's so rare, but back in the day, it would be like an 8-minute song with like
it was almost
almost
a prerequisite when in the writing process.
Yeah, like
okay, you knew it was
it's
coming.
Gonna go. Yeah, it's gonna go right here between this chorus. You take over, Jimmy, for a little bit, or even John Bonham, their drummer, which is in my opinion is like the greatest drummer of all time. He would do like a Moby Dick's, nothing but a huge drum solo. I love
and we
got
to do a Mount Rushmore and drummers too.
I would, yeah. John Bonham, number 1.
Neil Peart is the best fucking drummer ever. Did you see that? I think it's Family Guy, where it's Chester the Cheeto, and he's like he's snorting Cheeto dust. He's like, Neil Peart's the best fucking drummer ever, and he snorts a line of Cheeto dust and rams his head through a table. But going back to John Bonham, his son Jason Bonham, he's really good too. Yeah. Okay, so who's your wild card?
I'll let you go.
Oh, you want my wild card?
Who's your wild card?
My wild card is a man by the name of Tosin Abasi from Animals as Leaders.
Oh shit, those guys are technical as fuck.
His band is Animals as Leaders. He was also in Born of Osiris. I don't know if you've ever heard of Born of Osiris.
I really like Animals as Leaders though, but I've never heard them.
But he's classically trained, so he went to Atlanta Institute of Music and something, but he knows every kind of discipline and style of guitar, and you can hear it a lot. I mean, a lot of times he sounds like and he plays an 8-string, so a lot of times sometimes like he sounds like, you know, you hear some Spanish guitar, you hear like some classical guitar, and then
trained in everything, yeah.
And then he will melt your face with these arpeggios and these sweeps and just this gnarly progressive metal sound. But he's a badass.
Are they still putting stuff out?
Yeah, they've got a new album either that just came out or is going to come out. You know, with COVID, everything kind of went, you know,
I can't wait for all the new music and movies to
and
come
TV.
out once everything kicks back up, because I figure all these people are just writing the best
Yeah, because that's
stuff.
one thing I didn't mention in what I've been up to, but I'm one of the 4 or 5 people that still are watching Walking Dead. It's I've been watching it.
I think my parents still watch.
I've been watching it for almost a decade. It came on in 2010.
I remember, dude. That was like everyone would stop down and watch it.
Yeah,
I'd watch it with my parents. Ryan would walk. That's when me and Ryan both still live with our parents. Ryan would just like ride his bike over, drink some whiskey and watch Walking Dead all night.
We would have parties Sunday night. Like me, my brother, Brittaker,
lots of people would,
and Ryan, we would grill out, drink beer, smoke, and watch Walking Dead.
Did you ever go to Granada Theater? They would have viewing parties every Sunday.
No, and I'm a big fan of the comics. I've read the comics.
Yeah, I did up until they were just too expensive for me.
I've got all the compendium, so if you want to finish it, I've got everything.
I think I got like the first 10 volumes.
They
were really nice though. I mean, like hardback.
Good.
Awesome detail.
Yeah, they're good, and
the story was
good.
great. But it was just like that's when I was probably still, like I said, working.
It
else.
went down. It went down in like season 7 and 8. Like the back half of 6, 7, and 8 were pretty bad. It was bad, but I held on because I liked the show. And that's when they introduced Negan, who was played by Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Oh yeah,
and they did him all wrong. But season 9 and 10 really rebounded. They got a new showrunner for 9 and 10. And so on Sunday, they had the penultimate episode of season 10 back in March when everything went down with COVID. Yeah. And so that delayed the season finale until last Sunday.
Oh,
and so they just did the finale for season 10, and so I watched that.
Anticipating a season 11.
Yeah, season 11 is gonna be the last one.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
I was gonna ask when they're finally wrapping it.
Yeah, season 11.
Well, it's good they're gonna hopefully end it on a high note.
And then supposedly, because in the show, something happens with Rick Grimes, and you don't kind of know the outcome. And supposedly there's a 3-movie deal.
Oh wow, they're gonna do movies.
In the theaters, the whole 9 yards.
A trilogy.
A trilogy wrapping up what happens with Rick.
Wow.
And then they've also got 2 other shows, Fear the Walking Dead, and then another one that just started. And supposedly all 3 worlds are going to kind of combine, and you're going to see how kind of connected the movies are going to bring all 3 shows and the world together. So I'm a huge Walking Dead fan.
Conclusion.
Yeah, make fun of me. I mean, I kind of deserve it, but I
was
like
in
Walking
on it
Dead
forever. But then what happened was when I moved out of my parents, me and Claire got our first spot like 8 years ago. We just didn't have,
Well, lucky for you,
AMC and all that.
Lucky for you, they're all on Netflix if you ever want to catch up. And then I've got all the compendiums of the comics if you ever want to catch up on the comics. So season 9 and 10 really rebounded. They got a new showrunner. And what's crazy is like they had a lot of podcast coverage, and a lot of guys dedicated show recaps, and and a lot of those guys.
I remember Talking Dead would immediately follow. For example.
And then there's a podcast called The Talking Dead that was around before the TV version with Chris Hardwick, but they still cover it. But there was a lot of people that covered it that just after season 6 or 7, they're like, oh, we're out. Damn. The show sucks. But no, they got a new showrunner for season 9 and 10, and then she turned it around totally kind of brought it back, and now I'm hyped.
A woman's touch.
Now I'm hyped for Walking Dead again. I used to go into them like,
you know what that reminds me of? Watching a Cowboy game. Grueling your way through a Cowboy game. I can't wait to the point where I'm happy to watch a Cowboy game again. Right now it's more of a chore.
Oh yeah, and we'll get to that.
Coming up.
So who's
my last one? Mark Knopfler from Dire Straits.
Oh,
he's the lead singer and guitarist.
That is a wild card.
Wild card, dude. The older I get, the more dad I get, the more I like Dire Straits. And it's all started like 15 years. Not 15. How old am I? Almost 15 years ago when I was at Cedar Valley. I remember like seeing this article about like the greatest guitar solos of all time, and I was like, let me just see, who's up top. Jimi Hendrix Machine Gun was number 2. Sultans of Swing by Dire Straits was number 1. They say that's like the most technical, just difficult like progression of like notes that a man could ever hit. And I'm like, Dire Straits, isn't that the Money for Nothing, like cheesy song? But they've had, Romeo and Juliet, everybody knows that song, but there's so many good songs by that band. My favorite's Wild West End. When you listen to it, it just seems like when he's playing it, he's just so effortless. He's like so smooth. I don't know how to describe it, dude. Just check out Wild West End and just listen to how smooth he is. And then in Sultans of Swing, that's one where he's just like absolutely just picking it apart, tearing it up, and he just makes it look so easy. So a lot of people, I didn't realize, actually give him credit for being one of the smoothest, most underrated guitar players like of all time. Because everyone just thinks Dire Straits like this British band that put out a few hits, but Mark, it's Knopfler,
Knopfler, yeah.
Mark Knopfler.
They were an afterthought. I would have never thought Dire Straits.
We'll listen to Wild West End after this.
Okay.
After we stop
Perfect.
recording. For copyright purposes, we can't play it on air right now.
And I think maybe, and I still may do it. It's not like our show is monetized or anything, but I think I may slip a little Van Halen in at some point, just to pay tribute. I may slip a little Van Halen in there because I think there's a threshold, like it's either like 5 or 8 seconds or maybe 10.
Oh, you can get away with it.
We can get away with it. So I may slip that in. Do you have any honorable mention? Because I've got a few.
Well,
and I'm not going to go into detail. I'm just going to kind of list them.
First, I'll run through mine real quick though, without many detail. But Eddie Van Halen. I mean, this was inspired by him, and he really deserves it. He created Eruption.
Yeah,
that whole style of playing, just all him.
Yeah, and I didn't really include him because we kind of hit it, with that last news story, and so that for me was kind of a given.
It was a given.
Yeah, but yeah, he is up there for me.
Carlos Santana.
Yep,
I feel like he
was in consideration.
Yeah, underappreciated. Just as I love Carlos Santana, man. I could always put on a Santana album.
Real quick, so my dad saw Led Zeppelin at the Fort Worth Convention Center in like 1970, and then in 71 he saw Santana, and with my mom, I forget where, but Santana was on acid.
You weren't born in 71 after that show.
Santana was on acid, and they were like telling me stories about like how he thought like his guitar was like a snake, and like he was making his face was like gyrating in like all sorts of weird ways. And but yeah, so my dad's actually seen Hendrix, Zeppelin, and Santana.
That was if you were a rock fan, that was the time to be alive. Like,
Oh, he
late
tells me all the
60s
time,
to
like,
mid-70s.
my era is the golden era of music.
He's not wrong.
No, he's not wrong.
He is
He's not wrong at all.
Nope.
But go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Number 3 is Tom Morello from Rage Against the Machine.
Mhm.
I love it. That's probably, I was listening to him all week. That's probably my number one band from the 90s. Didn't even realize I was so controversial and so edgy. You know, I just really like Rage Against the Machine.
You were taking a stand
to
and
it.
you didn't even know.
Yeah, dude, I was fist high up in the air, and then I'm like, man, they're just really good. And then number 4 is David Gilmour.
Yeah.
Pink Floyd, and then
Yep.
once he took over, and then his solo work, it's all. I'm a big fan.
Didn't
of
you see
David
him?
Gilmour.
Didn't you see
wish.
David?
Oh.
Or who went and saw David Gilmour? Was it Ryan?
Might have been Ryan. That
Yeah.
asshole's been to so many good shows.
Yeah.
He's seen Neil Young. I haven't seen Neil Young.
So I was in the hospital where we were having Landry, and he sends me a picture. It's him and fucking Jerry Springer.
That's random, but
He ran
also
into him in a
cool.
bar in Dallas.
Jerry Springer.
Yes.
Dude.
And then he lucked into tickets for that Green Bay Dallas playoff
with
game
Troy.
with Troy, and like that happened in like the same weekend. Like I don't know how he
He
lucks
met
into
Jerry,
all this.
and that was the Des Cage. wasn't
Yeah,
it? Oh, so
and
that
then-
was when Landry. That's where you're there for.
Yeah, I
Landry
was in-
being born.
Yeah, so
Jeez.
so my honorable mention, and it's gonna be. There's only one name on there you're gonna recognize, and that's Steve Vai.
Yeah.
Steve Vai, a lot of people don't like him, but he played with like Whitesnake.
Yeah, I was gonna say you know the name, but you can't like. And I remember what he looks like.
Yeah.
Because he has that distinctive look, but a lot of people, like you said, they might know a few songs if you played them, but yeah,
He
not
played
a
with
household name.
Whitesnake. He's got a bunch of solo albums.
He's literally but he's a professional guitarist. He's
Yes.
like a traveling, like, what's it called?
He's like a mercenary.
Yeah, like a mercenary.
Yeah.
Like a fill-in. Like, hey, you need somebody to play this?
He played with he was a part of like the Frank Zappa project and like played with Frank Zappa.
Yep.
He's up there, and and a lot of the modern guitarists I'm about to get into, and even Tosin Abasi, like they list him as like a inspiration. Like he inspired those guys. So my other one his name is Misha Mansour. He's from a band called Periphery, who's kind of in the same realm as Animals as Leaders, except they have vocals, but it's prog metal, it's progressive metal, it's a lot of 8-string guitars, really technical stuff. A guy named Paul Wagner, he's the guitarist for Between the Buried and Me.
Yeah, that's another technical, just
and then,
ridiculous.
Probably the most obscure and least well known is a guy named Shane Blay, and he's with a band called Oh Sleeper, and they're a metal band from Fort Worth. And
Oh wow, that's high praise.
Yeah, but they got signed and they went on national tours and worldwide tours, and so
I got one more, just another local boy, Dimebag Darrell.
yeah, and
It's hard. That would have been my number 5 on my honorable mention, but
yeah,
I don't want to sound too homerish, but I mean, he's
that's not
fucking great.
homerish, I mean-
yeah, he speaks for himself. He really is.
It's fucking Pantera. Because I was talking to my brother, he's a big music head, and he plays guitar. And I was like, "What do you think about my Mount Rushmore?" And he was like, "Dude, you don't have Stevie Ray on there." I'm like, "Holy shit! I did forget Stevie Ray at first." And I think I had Steve Vai up there, and he's like, "Fuck Steve Vai, dude."
Yeah, your brother Ben's right.
Oh, yeah. So, and he was like, "Yeah, dude." He's like, "The only person I might throw on there is like maybe Dimebag."
Yeah.
So, I mean, we were pretty spot on with each other's main Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, 3 out of 4 on the main. That's pretty impressive. And then we both just kind of went obscure with 4, but it was, like I said, it's your personal choice.
Yeah, it's our list. So,
Yep.
So that's gonna take us to Pick Your Poison.
Oh, this one's
It's loaded.
It's lose, man.
It is loaded. All right, so Pick Your Poison is a segment where we give a scenario or a question, and it's a would you rather segment or a would you rather question. And this week's is, would you rather all conspiracy theories be true or live in a world where no leaders really know what they're doing? And I really think we're already kind of there with our leaders not knowing.
That's kind of what I wrote down.
And I think I would rather live in a world where conspiracy theories are true.
Well, let me just put I put a few leaders really know what they're doing, it seems like. We're kind of already there. But to me, there's just too many crazy conspiracy theories. If you would have said like a majority are true, that would have been my answer immediately. But I said I can't believe in a world where lizard people rule over our flat Earth. You know, like I can't believe every conspiracy theory is true. If you would have told me 50% were true, absolutely, because I believe JFK wasn't murdered by Oswald. I believe Epstein didn't kill himself. You know, I believe Operation Paperclip, we brought over Nazi scientists.
No, that was real.
To get us, yeah, that was 100% real.
Werner von Braun started fucking NASA, and he was a Nazi.
And he brought over all his homeboys because we said, "Hey, don't go to Russia, don't go to the Soviet Union. Come to us. We'll
you ever wonder why you see some Argentinians and they have like fucking German last names? It's because all those motherfuckers fled over there.
Because we gave them solace and refuge. So that's 100. But as like I said, there's just so I guess I would have to believe that I would live in a world where the world leaders just didn't know what they were doing because it seems like we're already there.
I think we're already there. I mean,
there's just too many wild conspiracies. That's what it boiled down to me is I can't believe every one of them, but I certainly believe a lot.
I believe a lot of them too.
Without being like cuckoo foil hat, there's definitely some conspiracies that that are 100% true.
We're already there, so you're probably right. I'm probably going to pick, I'm going to live in a world where our leaders don't know what's going on because we're already there.
Seems like
the debates these past 2 weeks are proof that nobody knows what's going on. Nobody can really affect change. So
except for the lizard people.
But yeah, you're right. It's like Alex Jones, the turn of the frog's gay.
Yeah, exactly, dude. I can't believe it. So I gotta take leaders not knowing what they're doing.
Now I want to say maybe Rogan or somebody actually said that Alex Jones was right on that. Like there was the frogs being like they could change the sex or like the anatomy or something on a frog. I don't know. I'll fact check that.
That just makes them transgender. It doesn't make them homosexual.
I don't know. It's just there's that clip of Alex Jones that you'll hear. He's like, "They're turning the frogs gay."
Alex Jones is a fucking madman.
He's entertaining, man. He's entertaining.
He's entertainment. That's for damn sure.
But I don't think he should be censored. Like he got blacklisted and banned off of off of YouTube. Same with Twitter. Just because I don't agree with somebody or I don't share the same views, I don't think they should be banned.
Well, they're trying to stop misinformation.
That's all. We'll get into it later.
Yeah,
that's all it is, man. But you can't have one side doing it, but then this guy on this side. Go back and I'll send you the link. Go back and watch the interview. It's the Rogan podcast where they have the founder or CEO of Twitter and their lawyer on with Rogan and a journalist named Tim Pool. And they talk about all this. They talk about all the censorship. They talk about their policies of how they ban people, why they ban people. I just don't think you can allow one group to get away with it and then totally force the other side to play by a different set of rules.
Well, you're giving Twitter sets the rules, though. It's their rules.
Yeah, but it's not. The rules aren't the same for everybody. If you're on the left, you can get away with certain things that you can't on the right.
Yeah, but I agree with you, but I'm saying that's Twitter's policies, though. They make the rules.
Then ban the people on the left.
They should.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
what I'm saying.
Okay.
I'm saying, but that's what I'm saying. They do what they want though because it's their rules.
Well, right.
I'm not saying it's right, but I'm saying they make their own rules.
Right, and we learn, and we'll talk about it. But I don't. Say what you want about Alex Jones. He's wrong on a lot of stuff. He has been right on some stuff. I'm not for banning anybody. Stifling anybody's speech unless you're physically harming people or threatening people. Well, you should be able to say your thoughts.
What if your thoughts are white power and death to all?
See, that's harming. That's harmful to people. That's toxic.
Yeah,
but you can't.
But you should say, hey, this is what I feel, and then you go, well, I don't think that way.
Yeah,
blocked. Yeah, I agree with that.
You can't say, I think the government is controlling frogs and turning them gay, and Epstein didn't kill himself, and 9/11 was an inside job, and boom, bam, hammer. Like, you can't do that.
Not when someone's just expressing their opinions.
Yeah.
But if your opinions are hateful and toxic, then yeah.
But it's got to be the same rules for both sides, for everybody. It can't just be
It's
pick
gotta,
and
the
choose.
rules have to be inclusive to all.
Yeah.
For it to work in a functional society.
Ooh, man. Let's transition because I'm getting slippery. I'm feeling slippery. That slope is we're
Going down a
sliding
deep
down.
rabbit hole.
Okay, what is it? Okay, now we're on to our Three Ninjas Knuckle Up review.
Oh, man.
So what'd you think? What'd you think of the third installment?
I just as a quick overview, I had high hopes when they started getting into the story, but then it just reverted back to its old self.
Yeah.
So I was watching with Claire, and she was giving me so much shit for watching this. She was like, if I never have to hear "ah" ever again, I'll be so happy. That's all it was. It was like, belly button kicks and kicks to the shins and ah. And for some reason, like, all these fools are getting knocked out. And even by the third one, it's still so unbelievable to me. But the story was better. Like, I like that instead of just going to Japan and fighting in a tournament, which was extremely generic, they actually had a cool story about for some reason, I guess there's an Indian reservation next to this California town that they live in, and that there's guy that owns like his own dumping companies, like dumping toxins into it, and it's killing the people, and there's a disc that they have to retrieve to show the EPA. So it had a good, decent story at least.
Yeah, and man, again, they are because everything was like, where is it written down? Yeah, they keep referring to like all those people as like that Indian or those Indians like that. You cannot.
I said Indians, Native Americans, bro.
Yeah.
Come on.
Highly offensive.
That movie, and then fast forward a little bit to the pool parlor, which was a great spot. I put 100%. I want to work, own, or hang out at the pizza and pool.
Yeah, because they had beer
and they had beer. They had pool tables. They had arcade, pizza. But then, so just to skip ahead, like this Joe, the Native American girl, is like missing her father. They're at this rally. The bad guys show up. They're like, this is my land now. Get off my land. Speaking to the Native Americans, and they dump all this toxins. And then the girl wants to like go, go see what's up. Goes to confront these bad guys at the pizza parlor, and they just like pour beer on this like 11-year-old girl, and they're like, "Oh, she's too young to have a beer. Here, let me pour the Coke on you." Then they're like grabbing her. And there's like 30 people in this restaurant just looking at them.
Yeah, I wrote that down. And
I was like, no one's
grown men in there are not. Yeah,
everyone's
they did nothing.
But luckily, there's 3 ninjas there to at least save this poor girl.
Yeah, and I wrote down that they stick up for Joe and they dominate like 7 to 8 grown men. And I don't know if you noticed this actor, but there was a very young Danal Logue signing.
Right here, Danal Logue is Jimmy. I wrote it down, man. Yep.
Yes.
I was like, who is that? He looks so familiar, and I had to keep pausing it before when he was in the screen. I was like, that's who it is.
And I kind of wrote down like he was in Grounded for Life. I don't know if you remember that sitcom. He was in Sons of Anarchy, Vikings, Gotham.
He seems like such a cool dude. I know that guy. He is a cool dude. Every time I see him, I like him.
He had like a 2-season arc in Law and Order SVU where he played like this badass detective. But yeah, I noticed that, and who was there was somebody in the first one I thought or maybe that was Mighty Ducks. But did you notice the main cop? He was the umpire from the second movie.
Shit, he was.
They just reused a bunch of people.
You know what else he was in though too? He was Donna's dad from that 70s show.
Oh, he was. Yeah,
that's how I remember him, because he had
Good
still
call.
kind of had like that perm.
Good call.
I had a big crush on Donna growing up.
Oh,
that 70s show
yeah.
was a great show.
Oh,
that was
for
something
sure.
me and my dad would watch. I'm sure your dad probably watched it too, because that was like their era. Me and my dad would always watch that 70s show.
For sure. But I don't know if we want to get too far and break the whole movie down.
We can just make some jokes about it. Did you notice throughout the movie there was several different times where Rocky would have braces and
then he didn't?
Braces?
Yeah.
What was up with that? It would be like literally the same day. In the morning he'd have braces, and then they go and have dinner and his braces are gone.
Yeah.
I thought I was tripping until it happened multiple more times.
Somebody in the editing room screwed up on that, or maybe they should have just said, "Hey, let us get done with filming and we'll take them off." But nobody thought we would catch that.
I mean, I guess they filmed like half the movie and then you got the braces off and they did the rest.
But I will say, I think
it was like pretty obvious.
I think the third one worked better for me because for whatever reason, I think these 3 boys, and probably because they already had one movie together, they just had chemistry. I felt like they worked better together.
Yeah.
And Rocky wasn't so...
Rocky was almost cool in this.
He was almost cool, yeah. And he wasn't so nerdy and uptight. But yeah, for whatever reason, I think these boys just had better chemistry.
Originals,
yeah. wrote down, they have to clean the restaurant after the brawl.
Yeah, after they got abused by adults, the grandpa gets the call that, they did what?
So they stood up and did what's right, and now they have to clean up the bar.
Yeah, like, why aren't you arresting these guys who are assaulting children?
But, they go outside, and they Joe walks up, and they introduce themselves, and Rocky's like, I'm filthy. I'm Rocky, and she's like, hi, Filthy Rocky. I wrote down Filthy Rocky is a great porn name.
I thought that exact same thing. Filthy Rocky.
Filthy Rocky. Let's see. Yeah, and like when they go on that little secret like recon mission to find
Joe's dad.
Like, why were the workers there like so ready to fight? Like,
on edge, man.
Do they know what's going on? Like, do they know that they're holding captors?
I put on here, I guess it's just common practice to not only assault children, but now they are kidnapping and torturing this Native American because, like, what is it, 3 days without food? He goes, it's been 4. Like, oh my God, this guy's about to die.
North Korea doesn't have shit on these people.
Yeah, and they're just, like, grinning from ear to ear, like, well, you got a floppy disk, we need it. It's like, okay, that's kidnapping, and now you're torturing him, and he's near death.
But he took it like a champ, though. He had enough energy to walk out of there. And then, they at one point they go down that manhole, and they're like,
those crazy sons of bitches
hey,
trying to kill him.
Pour gasoline down there, and I don't know if that would work. Maybe it would work. I don't know.
It would probably take a while for the gas, for like the flow of the water to get all the way. But yeah, he said some cheesy line, but then they dump all like a vat, like a gallons of
55-gallon drum of gasoline.
Hey, let's just scorch these children alive. That's fun.
And so eventually they get her dad back.
And then there's like a powwow at the tribe. And
yeah,
they were doing their dance, and then Rocky Top was like, "Let's show them our dance."
Oh,
no, you
dude,
go first.
I almost had to skip through that.
There was
a dancing montage.
Absolute cringe dancing, but it's totally 90s.
And like
it was like karate kick mixed with Indian Native
it was
American
so
moves.
Bad.
I was
like I did skip it because I watched it twice.
I skipped it the
second time, man.
I was watching it with Claire, and she's like, "Why do y'all even watch this?" I was like, "Babe, it's for the pod.
You have to," but she has to remember, like when we were, however old we were.
Oh, I bet I reenacted that dance.
Yeah, I mean, this was cool.
Yeah, that was the coolest.
But when we watch it as adults, you're like,
that's what I told her. I was like, that's why we do it. We look back and review it because like. I'm guarantee you back in the day I thought that was the coolest move when like the little beat hit and they did like a little splits and then like a high kick and like some punch jabs. Like I guarantee I did that same fucking move back in the day in my living room.
And then of course Hardy's and his boys roll up
with guns, man, like ready to murder. Of course, luckily no bullets were fired. They were using me as bats.
Yeah, I noticed
just
that.
Swinging them like, hey, I know I got this double barrel shotgun, but let me swing this at you. As a real Donnybrook broke out, but luckily no one was murdered because they came armed to the teeth with like pistols, assault rifles, and shotguns. But luckily no bullets were fired. But the Benny Hill music started and fight scenes ensued. And
then, of course, not of course, but Grandpa was actually there and kind of saved their bacon on that one. When they came in with the guns and he kind of took care of business. And
he
then
was like the ninja in the room.
Yep, in the house. And then a huge fight scene breaks out. And then, so the story's all kind of leading up to this hearing.
Well, you got to put through the... After, was it Harding, like, couldn't get the job done, he called in mercenaries, and it was a whole biker, like, Hell's Angels biker gang.
Yeah, it was like
kidnap Joe. And
it was like,
so now they're kidnapping a child, and, like, what's the word? Not blackmail, but... Extorting the dad to do, to go their way, and it's all leading up to this town hall.
It was like
meeting,
a great value Hell's Angels, though.
Yeah,
like,
they were terrible.
Mixed match.
It was cool when they first showed up, but then I was like, oh, these guys are badass. And then they start fighting. And it's like, yeah, these guys are clowns.
And then, like, I was like, you realize y'all are in cars, right? Like, you could just...
fucking right through
You could just hit them or, like, swerve over and knock them. Like, what are you doing?
There's, like, 3 on each side, and they're staying in the middle of the road. I would have gone right, left, and then gun it, right?
But, for the movie, I get it. So, they kidnap Joe. They're at the hearing. Her dad testifies that he's got a disc, and then the dad's like, "Hey, we got your daughter."
Yeah, then the police officer when the Native Americans going up, I was like, "How corrupt is this town?" He's like, "Hey, there's a phone call for you," and he hands it to you, and it's like they kidnapped your daughter, and it's like that's the sheriff handing you that phone.
Yeah, so he knows at this point that his daughter's been taken. And so he's got a decision to make. Does he give the disc up and the information proving that Hardy is killing his land, or does he save his daughter? Little does he know, the boys are in the process of saving Joe from these bikers. They kick everybody's ass again. Rocky learns how to drive on the fly, drives him to the hearing. Disc is delivered. Town is saved. And that was pretty much it.
I put on here
Go
after
ahead.
Joe gets kidnapped and the boys act like they don't do. No, they act like they don't know what to do. If only their dad was an FBI agent.
Yeah.
Right? No sign of mom or dad in that whole movie. And I put to start this, you would think these parents would reconsider summers with Grandpa after 2 near-death experiences, one across the world. But no, hey, next summer, go to Grandpa's. It's all good. It's not like y'all nearly died the last 2 years.
That's right. That's right.
And
Anything to get these little shits out of the house.
And that one, it was at the very end, there was like a bar scene where it's only Rocky and Tum Tum were in there with these bad guys, and the jukebox comes on.
Yeah.
That was so fucking terrible.
Dude, it was
like,
so
there was
bad.
a part where like the music changed and it was like a salsa song, so Rocky and Tum Tum like
They
grab,
look at each
and
other.
then they do like this little dance and like this salsa dance and then do a move and then worst part, man, I had to stop and rewind and show Claire just how bad this was. But there was like 2 guys. Rocky comes up between them, grabs both their heads, and does like a hip thrust, like left, right, and knocks them out with his hips. I was like, "What the fuck, dude? I am over this movie at this point."
This one was a brutal watch. Like
And
pretty much the first one was a classic. It was
first
good.
one was still good. I would say the first one is still,
But the
very
last 2
watchable.
was hard, man.
And I put, man, they should have made this movie more realistic. Maybe about like school bullies or a school scandal. Like there's the principal's doing something shady. Instead, there's cowboys, Indians, and bikers mixed in with ninjas. And I was like, they just complicated it way too much. They could have made it where like, hey, it's first day of junior high and there's this scandal going on, or there's this bad guy superintendent that's doing something, and they could have worked in the school. Instead, they're fighting Hell's Angels and these bad wannabe cowboys, and it was just too much for me. And Alex, I really don't know if we're gonna get to High Noon at Mega Mountain.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
don't know
I
if
can sit through
because these last 2 have cost me. It's like a total of like $8 and like 4 hours of life.
Yeah, unless I can find number 4 for free somewhere.
If I can find it free,
I may watch
maybe,
it.
But I mean, Claire was telling me, she's like, she's like, you've wasted a combined 6 hours of your life you'll never get back. And I'm like, well, you're not wrong. But the first one was good. I would still say the first one was by far
good.
The best.
Not
Not even close.
And we'll talk about what we're doing next. I think I'm down for the Ninja Turtle movies.
I'm down.
So I think that's where we're going to go next week.
And it might be cheaper unless there are streaming. I've looked online. You can buy like a 3-pack. The 3-pack, so it's like all 3 in one for like $10.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
And Landry would like to watch those with you. And
yeah, he would watch them with me. So that takes us to my favorite segment and yours, 60 Seconds on Big Brother.
Well, let me just say, it's been a terrible year of Big Brother for anyone else who's been watching. If Ryan ever catches up or Ben listens, they had the triple eviction this past week, but they've been building it for so long, and it was going to be like this because they've never done a triple eviction. It was going to be like a once in a 22-year history of Big Brother. But they have like this mounted screen that the host can talk to him through because there's no human interaction outside the house. And after they did the first eviction, they still haven't said anything, but some idiot in production must have put up the headline of triple eviction night on their screen. So all the house guests saw it. It ruined the whole surprise. And then that guest or the host afterwards was like, "Oh, I guess y'all just saw that mistake. Yeah, guess what? It's triple eviction." And it's like they've been building this and hyping it for so much. And of course they dropped the ball because this is the worst season of Big Brother. But so the first eviction, Kevin and David were up. Kevin voted out 6-0. They immediately have another HOH because they're going to have to do 3 of these to get through a triple eviction. Memphis wins, and he nominates David and Nicole. Tyler tries to convince Christmas and Enzo to evict Nicole instead of David because he likes working with David. He thought he had those 2 extra votes, but Enzo lied because Enzo's in another alliance, and he didn't want to he didn't want to go that path. He played his own way. So David gets voted out 3-2, which now they know that there was 2 votes against Nicole. That'll come back to bite them in the ass because, they tried to flip the house and it didn't work. And if you try to make a move like that and it doesn't work, you're pretty much fucking dead because everyone knows it was you. You lied or you flipped on us. But so this is now going into the third HOH of the night. Tyler wins, and he actually wins the POV that night. Or I'm sorry. So he wins the HOH, and he nominates Nicole and Danny. So then they have the veto competition. Tyler wins that, so he's locked up. Those nominations are going to stay the same. and Danny gets voted out 4-0. I'm not upset with that because I've never liked Danny. I don't like Nicole either, but Danny's just like the worst. She thinks she's the shit, and she's just not good. I put on here just triple eviction night. Completely sucked. And then just this past week, they just had another episode. So they're down to the final, I think it's final 5 now. 6. It's final 6. Cody won, and then he won the HOH. He won the HOH and the POV. He's got all the power. Nothing can happen that he doesn't want to happen. He put up Tyler and Christmas because they're the two that tried to backdoor Nicole. Or not backdoor, but just flip the house on Nicole. And that's someone he's working with. So they immediately knew, like, hey, those are the 2 people that did it. Tyler tried to throw Christmas under the bus. Christmas tried to throw Tyler under the bus. They know they're both lying. So they're the 2 nominees. They can do nothing about it to change that because, like I said, Cody won. Cody's the head of household and holds the power veto, so he's got all the power this week. And one of them's going home tonight. Me and Claire are going to finish it. And just can't wait for the season to be fucking over. And we can get started next year on a new season with new people. Because bringing back new people just sucks because they all had that connection. And they immediately just started working together. And I like it when it's a slow burn and it takes a while to gain someone's trust. And then you form this alliance or then you take this next step. But they're immediately like, hey, you're a cool guy. Let's go over here and we'll form a 6-person alliance.
Okay, I was going to ask you, like, with you saying that it was a bad season and it's stale, like...
Yep. Very stale, nothing
what
big
could
happened.
they do to, like, fix it? But it sounds like if you bring in fresh players who don't really have all these connections and, like we talked about, like, they kind of know how to play the game and have been there, done that, maybe that'll help
you got to get in new people.
Okay.
Because, like, Enzo and Cody have a final, too, because they're both from Jersey together. So they knew all these things about each other. But I like Enzo and Cody's a pretty cool guy, but Enzo, the meow meow, he's low-key going to win it to me, man.
Again, Enzo is a badass name.
Enzo's the coolest name. And when you hear his full name, it's Italian as fuck. Really cool name. But
Enzo Ferrari, and you go with meow meow.
Well, since Zingbot, a few episodes came back and gave him so much shit for that, he doesn't go by meow meow anymore.
Good.
He's just Enzo.
Good.
But yeah, you have to get in new people because what they're doing now, everyone's just working together. No one wants to make a big move, and that's all Big Brother is, making big moves.
So everybody's just playing it safe.
Exactly.
Like,
they're playing
trying
it way
to win.
too safe.
Yeah.
Way too fucking safe. And that's why they did this triple eviction, to hurry the game up, because it's been boring as fuck. And they're like, we're going to force your hand to make you do something.
So it sounds like the producers or showrunner, whoever, kind of listening to
they know that this is boring
audience.
and stale.
Yeah.
And they're forcing a hand. But
well, at least they're taking those steps, and like they're not just letting it ride out.
Yeah, but like I said, then they screwed up. They dropped the ball completely on triple eviction.
Right, they couldn't even get that
on
right.
The screen. Yeah, because I wanted them to do a single elimination and then a double, because they always do a double. And then I wanted Julie Chen, the host, to be like, all right, now we're going to do a triple eviction just to see everyone, like, their face, their expressions just completely change.
Right.
We didn't get it. They dropped the ball on it, just like they dropped the ball in the entire year. So only a few more episodes to scroll through, because when they do the finale, 3 people make it. So there's only going to be, like, 2 more evictions and then a finale, so it's gonna wrap up in the next week or 2.
Oh, okay.
Then it'll be over, and then 90 Day Fiance might kick off for Matt's segment or something. Maybe.
I may get you in on that too. I may get you and Claire in on that
I'm
too.
sure Claire would be in on it, no doubt.
We had the tell-alls. It was the end of the season.
Anybody find love?
Let's see.
Or what they consider love?
Angela and Michael. Angela is a 54-year-old woman from Georgia, married Michael, who's like a 30-year-old from Nigeria. Michael is a sweetheart of a dude, really cares for her, and Angela, in the tell-all, because in Nigerian culture, the wife is supposed to be submissive to the man, and that's just how it is in Nigeria. And Angela is not about that, and she made us, and I say us as Americans, look like assholes, because she's like, I ain't bound to no man. I'm an American. I don't have to do that shit. And I'm like, oh my god. And so there was a lot of drama leading up to their wedding
and they still got married.
And now there's drama because Michael wants a child, and he told the family that Angela would give him a child, and Angela's like, I'm 54.
Those both years
dude.
are gone.
What do you want me to do? Spend the rest of my good years raising a child? And I'm thinking, isn't that something you discuss
Before
day one? If y'all know
Absolutely.
y'all are gonna do this, that's one of the first things on the list. But anyway, they got married. Michael's still in Nigeria because he's having trouble getting the visa process going. let's see. There was Elizabeth and Andre. Elizabeth is like a 30-year-old chick from Florida. Andre is around the same age. He's from Moldova.
The hell is Moldova?
Eastern Europe.
Wow. Never heard of it.
So they've been married. They got brought back for this season, and there was drama surrounding. They got married here in America, so they're already married. But Andre wanted to have a ceremony in Moldova with his family. For some reason, Elizabeth's dad footed the bill for it, and there was a lot of drama surrounding that. So he paid for 2 weddings. She's got an asshole brother who wouldn't stop because asking questions about Andre's past, because there was some shady stuff about him being a police officer there, and then all of a sudden he moved to Ireland before he moved to America. And they just kept hitting on it and wouldn't, and they were asking his brother and his friends, and apparently the police force over there is obviously corrupt, and they were wanting him to do some shady, I don't know, you didn't ever get a resolution. But her brother got drunk at the wedding, made an ass of himself. They almost fought several times. You've got a Kalani and a Swelu. Kalani is an American from Washington who is of Samoan descent from her father, and Swelu is from Samoa.
Oh, that's a good match.
There's a lot of drama there. Swelu is 24. She's 32. He's super immature, plays video games all the time. He works a part-time job, doesn't help with the kids. During the pandemic, he's going out and playing volleyball, and going out and and there was drama between Swalu's family because of Swalu's mom and sister wanted money from they were you need to take care of me and send money back to Samoa, and they're look, I've got a family to take care of, and at one point she's I don't even really care about your kids, I just want money. Wow, and so so it was just a shit show, and the tell-all is at the end of the season, and it's usually a shit show,
which is probably what people really want to see.
That's what I want to see.
I mean, that's what
and
you turned in for.
It was a little different this year because it was all via Zoom. Usually they're all in the same place on the couch. No, it was good, and that's kind of why I ran late getting over here. I had to finish up the tell-all, and eating Chick-fil-A, but no, it was good. Yeah, Lauren's got me wrapped up in that because when I started it, I was I'm gonna extend an olive branch. This is a way we can spend time together. I'm not into it, but then I get to know the characters, and then I get into it, and I'm oh, I can't believe so and so did that.
Yeah, that bastard.
Yeah, and then
not treating her right.
So now there's a season called 90 Day Fiancé the Other Way, and it's where Americans are going to the country of their fiancés. And there's a lot of crazy dynamics with that because there's a gay couple, there's a dude, a white dude from here. He's 56 years old, but you look at him, he looks 26. Oh, wow. Super good looking, in shape, and he's engaged to a dude from Mexico. And in Mexico they don't tolerate that culture. They're not accepting of the the gay community, so there's a lot of drama there, and he's now moved down there. And in the mid-season premiere, because they took a break, he's bringing his fiance to meet his parents. So there's a lot of drama there. There's one chick that is going to live in Ethiopia because her fiance's got her pregnant, and he lives in Ethiopia. And in the first half of the season, it showed her going over there, and kind of there was a culture shock, obviously, because of the living conditions and the bathrooms and all this. And then there's another couple where there's a South Korean dude with an American chick, and she went over there, and he's kind of immature. He's not doing what he's supposed to. He's not holding down a job, yada, yada, yada. So that's called 90 Day Fiancé the Other Way. And I've spent way too much time talking about 90 Day Fiancé. But yeah, so all that, the one show came to an end, and then 90 Day Fiancé the Other Way is coming back on next weekend. So maybe I will start picking up, now that there's a clean break and a starting point for me to start back on. Because it's all right.
Once Big Brother's over, the only thing we kind of watched together is Amazing Race, which I really like that show.
Yeah.
It's race, literally a race
around the world. Around the world, yeah.
Cool, like solving puzzles and shit.
Yeah. All right, let's get into sports. And the first kind of story I want to pick up on is the COVID outbreak in the NFL. The first 3 weeks, I was like, man, I think the NFL is going to do this. Like, I think they're going to skirt all this and be okay. And then here in the last couple weeks, we've had some cases and some games moved back and all this. And we may see kind of the first instance of a team really getting slapped around and slapped on the wrist for breaking COVID protocols, and because the Titans are going to face penalties and fines due to noncompliance of the protocols.
Yeah, they're gonna set the example and probably take a harsh hit.
And they should.
I think so.
Their facility was shut down on September 29th due to 23 positive cases between players between players and front office staff and coaches on September 24th. And this prompted the players the next day to hold a players-only practice at a high school there in Nashville. Well, of course, all that got caught on cameras because students were there and they were taking...
Yeah, like you weren't fucking thinking about social media.
They didn't pick like a random field. From what I heard, this is like a Highland Park or a Jesuit.
So they went to the nice
went to like a nice school with nice facilities, and all these kids are taking videos and putting it on Instagram and Twitter.
Why doesn't one of the veterans have like, hey, I got 20 acres?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, just go to I got a flat yard.
Look at Dak. He's got a football field in his
house.
What
I'm saying? Like, you don't have to go to high school. You could have done that in someone's private property because you're all millionaires.
But so, and now their sources...
I was going to say they should have done it anyways because that's obviously led to an outbreak, but at least be smart about being stupid.
And now their sources coming out and saying the facility is rampant with violations. Nobody was following mask protocols. Nobody was social distancing. Yeah. And I don't want to get into if you believe in it or not believe in it, but
you're paid millions to follow those rules. I get paid thousands to follow my rules.
Yeah, we have to go to work, and we can make way less money, and we're subjected to that risk, and we still kind of follow and do what we're supposed to. But all this with the Titans has now prompted a big schedule shift. So Titans Bills is moved to Tuesday night. And that's contingent on negative tests.
Yeah, I don't know about that one, man.
Broncos Patriots is moved to Monday
because of Gilmore.
Bills Chiefs the week 6 game next week is moved to October 18th. And that leads me to Stephon Gilmore. He was caught on camera seen hugging Patrick Mahomes after the game. Why is this still a thing? Like,
yeah, I don't need to.
If you're that concerned about it, when the final whistle blows, you just go to your locker rooms. But no, they banned jersey swapping, which is stupid because you've already spent 60 minutes banging your head against each other.
Yeah, sweating,
what
dripping,
more?
and coughing on you.
Who cares? Like, who cares if I swap my jersey with you? We've already bled and sweat and spit all over each other. So it just doesn't, like we talked about a couple weeks ago with the face mask, like, and the coaches, like, it doesn't matter. I mean, they were already covering their mouths with their play sheets. You see some coaches having, and they've cleaned it up now after, Gruden got slapped with the fine and I forget who else. But I don't know. Sometimes just what they do doesn't make any sense.
Well, it's hitting me hard because I took Derrick Henry in the first round, and I don't want him to miss another week. I barely squeaked. I won by like 3 points last week in that league. Like, I barely squeaked out that win without Henry.
I've got running back issues too. I lost both my starting running backs in last week. Eckler.
I'll make you an offer.
Nah.
If you're ready to wave that white flag, man, just I can buy you a nice duvet. We can make an arrangement.
We'll talk. So let's talk about the NBA Finals. That thing's getting wrapped up.
I think Game 5's tomorrow.
Tomorrow, Lakers are up 3-1. LeBron's closing in on his 4th title. Jimmy Butler and the Heat have some injuries too.
Yeah, say Bam got hurt in like Game 1, and he just now came back for last game. Obviously not the same. And then Goran Dragic, it shows he's their number points leader throughout the playoffs, and he's been out. He's probably not going to come back. So arguably your 2 best players, or
they just don't
2
have
of your
enough,
top 3.
Yeah, they just don't have enough to complete.
And it would have, even healthy, it would have been an upset. I just don't like the Lakers getting their way, like, oh, they sucked for 3 years. Well, now they're going to win their 28th title, or whatever.
Yep.
So it just sucks. Like, I'm just a hater. I love LeBron. Don't get me wrong. I'm not a LeBron hater. I think he's Obviously, he's on my Mount Rushmore of basketball players, but I just hate that the Lakers get their way. And people think like we're the Cowboys, we get our way. I mean, we have suffered for 25 years. Like, we're not the same. We're not the Yankees. We're not the Lakers. We're the Cowboys. We're overhyped every year.
Yep, and we'll get to that.
Yeah, sorry, I'm letting my misery get a hold of me in a basketball talk.
Just hold on, just a little bit longer.
I just want to get mad.
Just hold on. We'll let you get there. And real quick, we talked about the Dallas Stars bowing out of the Stanley Cup last week, but I saw a stat and I heard a story, and it just really got me thinking. So as many as 13 players either missed time or fought through injuries during the Stanley Cup run. And let me just run through it real quick. And when I get done, let me know if you think there'd be a different outcome if we didn't have these injuries. Tyler Seguin had knee and hip injuries that may cause him to miss the start of the 2021 season. So he was battling. Ben Bishop had knee surgery in May, which would have been done in March, but got delayed by COVID. Jamie Benn played through a shoulder injury. Rope Hintz fractured his ankle and injured his hip. Stephen John sat out because he has a history of concussions, so he was concerned for his health. He sat out. Miro Heiskanen played through hip issues. Asa Lindell dealt with a hand injury. John Klingberg played through shoulder problems. Taylor Fedun suffered a knee injury. Jason Dickinson fought and played through ankle and foot injuries. And Blake Como, he played with a separated shoulder.
Yeah, those are two of our first lines. Those are our two best defenders. And those are like, I would imagine a hip injury in hockey is pretty devastating.
Because you think about how much
you glide. Yeah, that's hips.
And then hip checking people, like you know, like
that. I think hips are a huge part of playing hockey. So yeah, you have a hip injury
and a shoulder injury.
Yeah, you can't hit a guy. You can't really catch up.
Really,
with the
anything
guy.
hand, ankle, foot. I mean, I don't know how many times I saw our players blocking shots. 80, 90 mile an hour shots with their feet
we were
skates.
great at that. Yeah, we were great defenders.
But I think if we have all those players healthy,
if we don't win, we at least force a game 7, and that's.
And we were going in opposite directions.
Anything can happen.
We had injuries piling up, and then they got back Stamkos. Even though he still played a big role in that one game that.
And it probably gave him a huge confidence boost, too, to see their captain out there. Yeah.
So it's the what if, and that's why Jamie Benn was so emotional in that post-game interview, because he knows how hard they fought.
Yeah.
And he probably was thinking all the what ifs, like if we would have been healthy, if the puck would have bounced this way instead of all those things, because you don't know when you're going to get back. If ever.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why he was so. I understand why he was so emotional now. But yeah, so that was just kind of a retouch on Dallas Stars.
And I think the Kraken don't come until next year, so we get to shield our players from that expansion draft at least for a year.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So got to win it next year because expansion draft sucks.
So do you want to get into some Cowboys misery?
I guess.
Well, what do you got?
First play, Looney sucks. That's the first thing I wrote down.
Lucky for you, it didn't last long.
Yeah, because he got fucking hurt because he sucks. I heard he's a great guy, but come on. And then a trick play, for the first touchdown, where I was actually hopeful, it took a trick play for them to score on us. Little did I know the floodgates were just now opening. But, I mean, there were bright spots. If you want to look strictly at the offense, there was bright spots, but it's this fucking defense. Is never going to be good enough.
Well, real quick, let's stay on the offense. The offense, they have a small role to play in this too, because you cannot turn the ball over. You cannot. If I see Tony Pollard bring a ball out of the fucking end zone again, because our average starting position is our own 22. If you take a knee, we gain 3 yards, and that's factoring in all the turnovers and everything.
Because when's the last time you saw?
That's not factoring in all the. That's just on kickoffs. When we receive the ball, our average starting position is the 22. Stay in the fucking end zone, man.
Most kickers kick it out, anyways.
And then he had another bonehead play where he let the ball sit, didn't he?
I thought that was Seattle.
I think he had another one this week.
Oh yeah. I don't even know why he's still doing it. I don't want to put CD back there because he's too good of a receiver, but maybe Cedric Wilson
Put Cedric Wilson back there.
Noah Brown, someone who's big and strong, but he's proven that he shouldn't have that job. I know that.
So the offense, they have a small role to play is my point.
And like you said, the offense shouldn't turn the ball over, but that is going to happen because that's part of the game. But the defense shouldn't allow them to score every fucking time they get a turnover.
No, I agree. If
the defense has to make some stops.
If we're scoring 38 and 43 or whatever we scored this week, we should be winning the game.
We should be winning because we shouldn't be giving up 48.
We shouldn't, but we're also putting ourselves in huge holes.
Yep.
Every game but the first game.
Yeah, it was right before the half, wasn't it? Hold on, where did I put? There was a strip sack by Garrett, and then it was a Zeke fumble after a big run. It was turnovers on back-to-back plays. And I put again, we're losing the turnover battle, and we're going down 2 possessions, like fucking clockwork. This is how this year goes. Turnover. They score off of their they score off our turnovers, and before you know it, boom, boom, boom. Because we were at 14-7, and then they scored like 24 unanswered points on us.
We're -7 on the turnover
I'm
ratio.
surprised it's not higher than that, to be honest, just from that Atlanta game alone. And it seems like, I'm trying to think of when we got turnovers. I'm sure, obviously, we have a couple, but how many interceptions do we have this year? Do we have any?
Cheeto has one.
Cheeto got one?
That's it.
That's it.
Cheeto's got one.
I think Anthony Brown comes back this week.
Anthony Brown and Anthony Brown and who's the other one? Jordan Lewis. I think they're both back this week. LVE was at practice today. He's obviously doubtful.
I've heard optimistically it would be like almost 6 weeks because they said the collarbone is the surgery's over and it's healed, but you don't want to go in too early because it could break so easily again.
Right.
So it could be at like closer to our bye week. Or I think our bye week's 11 maybe. So you might see like after the bye week him back, but on paper, I love our linebackers, or I should say I love 3 of our 4 linebackers. I wish we could just dump Jalen Smith. I'll keep saying it until his contract expired. That was the worst signing we could have possibly made. That's why, wear shirts like this. Jerry makes me drink.
You can't see it, but Andrew's got a shirt on that says Jerry makes me drink. Jalen is... I don't think I've seen a player as bad as him.
No, man.
I mean, he's...
At least not a starter.
He's lost.
He's consistently wrong on every play.
He's taking bad angles.
And I thought he was going to be a designated pass rusher this year. A standing linebacker.
Well, I think he was until LVE went down and Sean Lee went down and we have all these injuries.
Well, then they should sign a linebacker, pulling up the practice squad because he should not be in coverage and he should not be playing like man defense. He can be a pass rusher, and we'll see how he does there. If he can't do that, then we know he's fucking useless.
But they're not going to sit him on the bench because of money.
It's so bad. You think the Patriots would do that or any other winning organization would
No.
say, well, he makes a lot of money, so we got to play him, even though every film you watch, you say, there's a missed tackle, there's a blown coverage, there's a wrong angle he took. I mean, it's just, how many times can this keep happening? And all I can do is, be like that kid from Dazed and Confused and just, rub my nose together, with, my index finger and my thumb, just bring them together and shake my head every time I fucking see Jalen miss a play.
So what's crazy, and I'm gonna go back to the offense, but I don't know why. I don't know why Terrence Steele was in the game against Myles Garrett.
He wasn't the whole game, though, was he?
No, and I'm reading a tweet from Michael Gelkin, who works for the NFL Network, and this was the day of the game, before the game. It says, Cowboys coach Mike McCarthy told at Boys Vox, which is Brad Sham, in pregame radio show that he wouldn't be surprised if Brandon Knight enters the game at some point, but Terrence Steele will be the right tackle.
Yeah, and
if you knew, why start him?
Yeah, if you have a suspicion that he's going to fuck up and have to be replaced, then
why start
don't
him?
even start him.
So you're already coaching negative. That's already a negative.
Yeah, in the back of your head, at one point I'm going to have to pull him out.
Why even start him?
I don't know.
And
he's an undrafted rookie. It's not like it's a highly drafted player where you're like, well,
or
we put this investment
it's
into
not
him.
even a guy that's got NFL experience.
That's what I'm saying. Undrafted rookie, and you're acting like, well, this is our best shot. We got to roll with him. No, he's not, man.
That's effing insane because you already knew they weren't going to put him on Tyron Smith's side. You already knew that because Myles Garrett is known to move around.
which is smart.
But why would you? But why would he? Why would he go to Tyron Smith's
Steele
side
all day? Yeah, then you stay on that side. You stay away from Tyron, the future Hall of Famer. Who, jumping ahead, did you hear?
Yeah, he's out. He's probably out for the year.
Probably out for the fucking year. That's 2 Pro Bowl, 1 All-Pro, future Hall of Famers, 2 Pro Bowl.
I think at this point with Tyron Smith, we need to start looking.
Oh yeah. I think he's only like 29, but that body.
Because he entered the league at 20.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. When you see him, he's young, but you're like, yeah, but do you see what he does day in and day out? And I love him. It's like Frederick. Like, I wish those guys could play for another 5 years, but I get it. Their body breaks down, and you can't be mad at them for it.
But I'll move back over to the defense. They allowed 307 rushing yards
after Nick Chubb went down.
They had. Thanks for bringing that up again.
Yeah, that's your player. Dearness
Johnson. He was on a fucking fishing boat.
Yeah, that's what they said. They pulled him off a fishing boat just so he could gouge us for like 7 yards a carry. I think he had like 13 carries for like 90-something yards.
They both him and Kareem Hunt averaged 6.5 or better a carry.
Can you imagine that? Imagine multiple players getting over 6 yards a carry on you.
In this game, you needed Baker Mayfield to beat you.
Yeah, that's what I said in the preview.
You knew what was going to happen. You knew
they have a great run game.
You knew Stefanski, wherever he went with Bill Callahan, they want to establish the run.
And I didn't know they had Bill Callahan. As soon as I knew that, I was like, well, that's why they're a great running team, because that's when we were great.
Anywhere he
goes. And then he went to Washington after us, and they were great. So it's like, I wish we still had Callahan, man.
Don Terry Poe has been a effing disaster.
And Everson Griffin.
I was
so hyped up about when we got those guys, like those, because I guess I was thinking big names. I guess I wasn't watching, but sorry. They said even in Minnesota last year, like Everson Griffin was still a disruptive, powerful player. And it's like, what the fuck happened?
Don Terry Poe's one job is to clog the middle, and he is getting manhandled.
Yep.
He is getting pushed around and thrown around.
Yeah, the wrong nose tackle got hurt, because I would love to have Gerald McCoy right now. At least
But shit, the way it's going, he might have been bad too.
I don't know.
Snacks Harrison went for a visit in Seattle.
Why didn't they bring him in?
I have no clue.
I mean, take a cap hit and cut one of these guys. Send a fucking message. What they should do is fire Nolan. I swear, if we'll get I don't want to get ahead, but if we lose to the Giants, dude, people are going to lose their fucking minds. McCarthy's job's going to be on the line. Should be. I don't care if it's 5 games in, dude. This is a talented team. Besides our defense. Here's
another tweet from last week. Not a single Dallas defender finished with a Pro Football Focus grade over 60.5 versus Cleveland. Brandon Carr and his one snap, whose Brandon Carr is now cut, received a 60.3. 4 players received a grade lower than 40. Tristan Hill, Joe Thomas, Jalen Smith, and Trayvon Diggs.
And see, I like Joe Thomas. I like Diggs. I think Diggs is obviously going to learn more, but I think Joe Thomas is taking on more responsibility he's ever had in his career. So maybe that's overwhelming for him. But he's a great special teamer, backup linebacker. He's been thrust in this position because of Sean Lee.
That'd be great if we had Sean Lee, LVE.
That's what I'm saying. He could come in for certain packages and run the special teams.
Sure, but
Joe Thomas is a good player. He's just not he's not that starting caliber.
He shouldn't be starting.
Yeah, he's not that starting caliber, but he's still a good player to have on their team. I think he just got put in a tough spot. And I'm seeing Tristan Hill. Obviously, I don't watch the D-line as much, especially right in the middle, but I feel like he wasn't pissing me off like some of these other guys. Like Worley.
No.
Worley, Smith should not be starting.
He didn't play well. Tristan Hill didn't play well. But coming from where he came from...
Yeah, I think I'm having low expectations for him.
Yeah. No, he's definitely had to step up and play. And going back to talk about Nolan, it's come out this week that apparently the style of defense he calls, because I'm reading another tweet right here from I think his name is Joey Ickes, Ickes. The Cowboys have chosen to play a style of defense that is structurally unsound and vulnerable to almost any offensive plan of attack because it asks each player to have too many responsibilities. Because I don't know if you heard Xavier Woods come out and he said, we're out there for 75 plays. We're NFL players. You can't expect us to go hard. That pissed me off.
Yeah.
But maybe...
Imagine telling your boss that, like, hey, I know I'm getting paid today, but I'm only going to give you 70%. Like, man, it takes some balls to say that on the record. When I heard that, I was like, well, then fuck you, man. Like, you get paid to play.
I think we're another loss away from... In Mike McCarthy's last 19 games, he's 5-13-1. I wonder if he's rethinking this whole thing. If he's missing his barn up in Green Bay.
No, because he's making millions of dollars. He's thinking, I can't believe these idiots hired me. I think he was full of shit when he met. All he had to do was impress the Joneses. He just sold them a bag of tricks, man. He told them, I studied everything. I did this. I'm all analytical. I'm going to bring in this coaching staff that we've had former head coaches. I remember when we announced the new coaches, I was excited, mainly because we gutted the previous coaching staff. But at this point, I miss Marinelli over Nolan. And that's what they're saying. Like, they even said, like, with how you're talking about how Nolan's defense is so complicated and so complex. He already said he's not even going to change it. They're not even going to attempt to alter it. What the fuck? We're historically bad. Why wouldn't you?
We're on pace to give up the most points for a season since our inaugural year.
And it's not even close. It's like 150 more.
Yeah. It's going to blow
it's like
away.
150 more points than our worst defense ever.
You know, and me and you were in a group chat with Alex. We were in a group text, and I'm sick of getting on Twitter and people blaming Dak Prescott.
Oh, here's one. I got Dak Prescott has 450 plus yards in 3 straight games. He's the first quarterback ever to do that.
Well, and you know,
it's not his fault. That guy is slinging it.
They're blaming interceptions, and when I talk about it, he's throwing the ball 60 times.
Yeah, he's forced to throw the ball 60. Yeah.
When we're putting ourselves in 20-point holes, 17-point deficits, you have to throw yourself back into it. And yeah, if you're throwing the ball that many times, interceptions are going to happen.
Yeah, it's inevitable.
And I don't put that last one on Dak. Amari quit on his route.
Yeah.
Call it a business decision, call it saying he said, the first window closed, so I was trying to race to the second window. I don't care. He quit on that route. He made it, that was on him. And I think there was maybe one more that got tipped or something. I can't remember.
Yeah, they're not terrible throws he's making. He's not making bad decisions. He's doing he's willing this team as close as he can to win.
He's dragging this team.
Yeah, he is putting this team on his fucking back. He's LeBron in Cleveland in 2007.
He's earning every bit of this money he should have got.
Yeah, he's gonna do that. He's getting paid. He is about to get paid.
And I've heard this kind of thrown around this week. If you're Dak, do you want to stay here?
Probably
You've
not.
already experienced, 5 years of mediocrity, and you can kind of see what's in your future. Do you want to stay here? Is the lore of being the Cowboys quarterback and wearing the star and everything that comes with it, is that worth being mediocre and never playing meaningful football? Or do you need to go to another place that's going to give you a chance to win and give you your money?
I mean, it honestly draws parallels to Romo. Romo had a good career with a shitty defense and drug this team to as many wins as he could for as long as he could. And he got sponsors out of it. He's got a great post. That's how they'll sell it to him is when you wear that star, you're going to get all this extra money. You're going to have a football career after, you're going to have a career after football's over. That's how they're going to sell it to him. But I mean, you make a good point. Like if, I don't know what job is a decent team, like say Indianapolis, Phillip Rivers retires after next year. Like, hey, this team's pretty good. We got Quentin Nelson. We got a good line. We got weapons. You want to come to Indy? We'll match anything. We might even go a little bit higher. It's a fucking thought.
Overall, like we're not a smart football team.
No, there's no more excuses.
I've never seen in my life a blocked extra point
that turned into a 2-point
conversion.
God, that when I saw that, I was like,
that's another Jalen play. Jalen ran in and tried to. What are you going to do, Jalen? Run 80 yards
on a drop foot?
We have the greatest example of what to do on that play. Leon Lett did the exact same thing. If you leave that ball alone, it's dead.
It's a dead ball
unless you touch it.
Yeah, and that's exactly.
So what are you going to do, Jalen? Are you going to outrun everybody 80 yards? No, you moron. Leave it the fuck alone.
Again, that was just a boneheaded, not knowing what you're doing play, which we have a couple of those every game.
We're just not. We play negative football. We play dumb football. There are bright spots, but
CeeDee Lamb had a great game.
Cedric Wilson
Noah Brown, another good game. Have you heard too about? I heard a little segment about if you would trade any Cowboy player, who would you trade? And I was immediately like, "Fucking, of course, Jalen. Trade Jalen." But it was on the fan. Yeah, well, you trade him for a 7th just to unload that contract. But it was Mike Bassick, who I've liked on the fan. I've always liked Mike and defended him, but his argument was trade Michael Gallup.
Yep.
And the way he explained it, he was like, he's going to get paid in 2 years. He's going to make anywhere from, $13 to $18 million as a great number 2 or number 1 on some teams. And it's like, we already paid Cooper, and we're going to have to pay CeeDee Lamb if you want to keep him. You can't keep 3 receivers. If you trade them now, they were like, what if you called up San Francisco? You think you get maybe a 1, at least they're 2, and a conditional like 4 or 5? I think you can get a 2 and a conditional. It'd be worth it because we just can't keep paying these guys. And I love Michael Gallup. Don't get me wrong, that's my guy. He the way he goes up and fights for a ball reminds me of Dez. He's that kind of player. But it's going to come to a point where his value is the highest it's going to be right now because he still has this year and next year, and we won't be able to pay him. We just won't be able to pay him.
Okay, so why would you not try to trade Amari?
His $20 million contract. It's like you said, it's with Jalen. It's an untradeable contract. You pay a guy $20 million, and you would look at, okay, right now, do you think Amari Cooper is the best wide receiver on our team? See that pause?
I don't know.
Not so much. And even if he was, I would say by how much? I think if this was a Madden game, we had our 3 receivers. Amari Cooper might be like a 92. Gallup's probably like an 87. And Cooper's like an 83. Lamb's like an 83, but he's getting better. So they're all within like 10 points of each other. One guy's on a rookie contract, or 2 are on a rookie contract, and one makes $20 million. If you called up a team, be like, hey, you want Amari Cooper for number 2? I say no, but I'll give you number 2 for Michael Gallup because he makes $400,000 a year.
I get that, but the trajectory that is, and let me think how I can phrase this. Where Michael Gallup is now, do you think he could eclipse where Amari is, like in the long run?
Statistically?
Well, just as a player, skill wise.
Maybe not.
Or is Amari just that good of a route runner?
Amari's a better route. He's a better route runner, and he's. I think he's a little faster, but
I just don't want to give up Michael Gallup.
But even when you trade him, that's why he's the bigger value because we've already paid Cooper $20 million. He's a $20 million player. I can trade you Michael Gallup, and I could say, hey, when he's a free agent in a couple years, you can re-sign him for about $13-14 million, and we're honestly saying like having a conversation of who's better. If they're that close, then I'll take the guy who cost me $6 million less a year. And that's why he has more trade value. So it sucks. Like I said, I love him too, man. I wish, in hindsight, of course it's hindsight, and they didn't know they were going to get Lamb, you should have never re-signed Cooper. But you didn't know that. So I get why the move was made. It just sucks that we have the highest paid running back. We have one of, because all these new contracts, but top 5 paid in defensive end, which Lawrence has half a sack in the last 11 games. There's no production there. We have Zeke, one of the top paid running backs, who's still good, but we know when running backs get to a certain point, their production just falls off a cliff. Amari Cooper, one of the top paid wide receivers, he might be worth it, but you just compound it with all these other salaries. Jalen Smith, one of the top 5 paid linebackers. Dak Prescott got about to be a top 5 quarterback. That's why Jerry makes me drink. He's paid the wrong people the wrong amount of money.
All right. Well, let me read off this stat real quick, and then I want to get back to Jerry just for a second. I'm reading this off of Blogging the Boys on SB Nation. It's bloggingtheboys.com by David Howman. But it'll give you some perspective. When the 2020 campaign began, this unit was going to be whatever the mishmash parts of parts and plan dictated. Thus far, the result has been nothing short of terrible, to a historical degree. How bad? 4 games into the season, including Sunday's embarrassing 49-38 loss to the Cleveland Browns, Dallas has given up an atrocious 146 points. That's an average of 36.5 per game, which currently projects as the single worst scoring defense in team history. To put that into perspective, the Cowboys' previous worst scoring defense contributed to a midseason firing of head coach Wade Phillips, who started 1-7 during a 2010 debacle that ushered in the Jason Garrett era. That infamous season, Dallas surrendered 436 points, 27.3 a game, and finished 31st in the league in points allowed. Right now, that 2010 defense would be an upgrade by
I would love that.
Almost 10 points.
Yeah, take 10 points off the board in every game, and we're in every game.
We win every game.
Yeah.
Almost.
Like
so
said,
that little
historically
right
bad.
there.
And this is a new coaching staff. This is supposed to be like, a new chapter, like new possibilities, and same old shit, man, but even worse.
we've had different coaches in here, different players. Jerry has been the one constant.
Yeah, it's the culture.
For the last 31 years. For the longest time, I defended it. I didn't defend it. I ignored it. I was like, hey, we got to play better. We got to get this coach out or this player out. But it comes from the top.
It's gonna take Jerry letting go of the reins, like when Parcells was here. It's gonna take him to die.
Yeah, he's gonna have to die. And then we've got to hope Steven will run it better, which I think we will, because he talked Jerry out of Johnny.
He's made him steer clear of.
He didn't want T.O. here. But then
T.O.
again,
was great for us, though. Don't get me wrong. He was just a cancer in every locker room, but guy was great.
Bill didn't want T.O. Either. Parcells didn't want him. But we've got the Giants coming in this week. It's going to be a big game with Garrett coming back.
Yeah. And Garrett knows where to exploit us.
Yeah.
But I don't think they have the weapons. If we don't fucking win this game, there will be no more podcast. There will be no more Cowboys talk on the podcast.
It'll just be an hour and a half of us crying into the mics. But they're scoring like 9 points a game or something. So
yeah, they're not even averaging a touchdown hardly.
This is our week to kind of get right, the offense to get right.
This defense needs confidence. This defense has to obviously win the turnover battle. I know it's generic to say, but we have to win. We have to make like a 3+ turnover battle here, because I always call him Danny Dimes, like I'm cool with him. Daniel Jones loves to turn the ball over. Not only just interceptions,
not good.
He will put the ball on the ground like once a quarter. You know what I mean? Just fucking fall on it. We just have to be there to fall on it. We have to get our cornerbacks just to get an open look, turn their heads like they've at least been doing since Richard's gone, and force some fucking turnovers, man, because this offense will not beat you with no Saquon. I don't even know hardly. I think they have Golden Tate and Evan Ingram still, and Darius Slayton. I mean, they got decent names, but it ain't our guys. If our offense cannot outplay these guys and our defense cannot stop these guys,
they got Devonta Freeman, I believe,
fucking
running back.
Yeah,
I'm not worried. I'm just telling you that's a name.
That's their name. Yeah. So no Saquon. We gotta fucking beat these. We gotta right the ship. We're in the worst division. 7 wins could get us in the playoffs. And I know people joke like they don't deserve a spot, but if you get in the playoffs, it's like fantasy football. Like we say, if it's a tournament, dude. If you just get in there, everyone starts 0-0.
Yeah, it's a new season.
It's a new season.
Really,
just get
what's
to the playoffs.
Sad is 6-10 could get this thing done.
6-10, there's a chance. Yeah, there really is.
I've back in the day, I played some seasons of Madden where another division had like a 6-10 team, but that was like, oh, that's video game shit. But no, here we are. It's very 2020.
I really think it'll be a 7-win.
Yeah,
like 8. Man, you're coasting into the playoffs.
That's right.
And you get to host the playoff game. And there's gonna be some team from the NFC West with like 10 wins that might not even, like
11
Arizona might be like 9-7 and not make it, and then you got the Seahawks or the Rams or something making like 8-8, and they're the worst team in the division. And it's like, yeah, we would get smoked there.
All
so
right.
I get why people say it's unfair, but someone's got to fucking make it. Someone's got to carry that turd of a torch.
That's the rules. All right, so we're heading toward the end here, and it's a little different this week for the what are we watching portion of it, because we both watch the same thing. And that is the Netflix original documentary, The Social Dilemma.
Terrifying.
It's eye-opening. The only thing I didn't like about it, I didn't like how it was like a hybrid documentary drama thing.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of cool.
I thought the only part where it helped was where it kind of broke down and kind of helped illustrate some of the technical jargon that they were talking about, as far as like when it had the 3 dudes in the control room, and they could see like, okay, well, we've noticed
ads to what you're viewing.
We've noticed like he stays on this post for however this long, but he's not looking at this anymore. And it's basically about how
like algorithms written up to
AI,
keep you addicted to your screen,
run our life without us even knowing it.
Yeah,
because we've all had those moments to where we're talking about Cool Ranch Doritos, and then we get on Twitter or Facebook and we see an ad for Cool Ranch Doritos. Oh, our phones listen. No, there's programs and there's supercomputers out there that know that we're going to talk about Cool Ranch Doritos before we even know.
It's like a prediction machine, man. Yeah. It's terrifying.
It's just, I'm not. My kid's gonna get a dumb phone. He's not gonna have a social media until high school because
I want to get a jitterbug.
It showed that guy at the end. He's like, yeah, we have rules. He's like, no social media until high school.
He was saying that was one. He was saying really it should be about 16 because he was like in middle school. Did you see that stat? If I could find it real quick about the numbers about here it is. Young people on social media, it's toxic. And since 2019, hospital admissions for teen girls ages 15 to 19 is up 62%. But girls aged 10 to 14, it's up 189%. Suicide is up for 15 to 19-year-olds 70%. Where to 10 to 14-year-olds, it's up 151% for 10 to 14-year-old boys and girls.
2009?
Yeah, from that point on, from when social media really took off. Because now you get all these middle school kids, and it's like, it's so toxic. Like, yeah, it could be cool to be on there to like share with your friends, but then it just takes that one hater, that one troll. And when you're that young, you're the most vulnerable person. You're your most vulnerable self.
Yeah, because when we were coming up, we didn't have to deal with that. Like MySpace didn't come around.
I would go on AOL, and if something happened then, like that would hurt me, but that was it. Now it's so more personal.
And they get caught up on these filters and the plastic surgeries have gone up
because they want their filter to match the filters. That blew my mind.
And they're living off likes and how many likes they get, and it's affecting their self-image and their confidence. And I'm just glad I didn't have to deal with that growing up.
At least growing up, because like I've always had this feeling that it's creating nothing but like narcissists, and I hate nothing more than
and going back to the the mental health thing, like the anxiety and the depression that it stems from it.
Yeah.
And even they had former CEOs of like Facebook and
Google.
Former founders of Facebook, Twitter, Google, Gmail, all these big names
that were all adamant about like, this is destroying not only like young people's lives, they're like it's undermining social democracy like globally.
Well, we half of the movie. We already know that. And it kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier with Twitter and how the mainstream media is so, and it's not even, they're not hiding it anymore. They're so pro left and so pro Democrat that they're just pushing these agendas, and they're banning anybody that they don't agree with that are the opposite
platform?
On any of them. Twitter. Maybe not Instagram. Twitter's the biggest cesspool right now.
See, I don't get on Twitter.
I'm on Twitter for sports.
Yeah,
that's where I get a lot of my sports information. I follow, all the writers, the bloggers, and that's how I keep up with sports. I don't get into any politics. I don't post on Facebook. Every now and again, I'll post something, a picture of me and Landry or a picture of me and the family, and that's like I've talked about before. I do it just so family can keep up, but I don't live my life through social media. I don't need to.
Like you said, because we didn't grow up with that, so it's not important to me at all. But there's a whole generation that are being grown on.
It's something that I do, like laying in bed at night. I'll look and scroll through and
see. I do that with Reddit, but it's more like individual posts sharing their own stuff.
Right.
I don't give a. That's what I told Claire. It's all anonymous. I was like, I'm on Reddit and I'll post stuff. I have a page that, I post mainly just memes that I make up. It's like sports memes.
Yeah.
Or like, stuff like that. I was like, no one knows who I am. That's the beauty of it. I'm not here to self-promote myself. I say, I just do it, to make a few people laugh. And I think I've had like one post get 500 upvotes. And I was like,
you made it.
On top of the world, dude.
I just don't want to live my life on social media. And there's so many people that if you pulled back that curtain and you saw what was really going on, it doesn't reflect what they post.
Yeah, they find that perfect picture.
And you get those people that only post like when they're on vacation. Like,
that's not your real self.
I just don't want to. I don't want people. Like the people I want to know about my life, I let them know. Like I share a lot of stuff with you because you're a good friend, and I feel like I want you to know certain things. Especially now that we're getting kind of into this venture together, like there are certain things that you probably need to know from time to time. But then I'll come to you with other stuff. Like when I was going through, all the anxiety and all that crap with me, I'd talk to you about it.
Yeah.
The people I want to know, I let know. Yeah, I don't need some asshole that I went to high school with that doesn't give a shit.
Making you feel like shit.
I don't need them to know.
Yeah.
I don't need them to
feel like they're judging you if you would have shared this.
Yeah, I don't need anybody to know.
That. Yeah,
I keep all my shit in house.
Nope, I'm the same way. And Claire's pretty much the same way too. Like she'll get on Facebook, but it's a lot for her business, and then it's like sharing pictures of Elizabeth.
That's
we don't post like when we do stuff. We do family stuff. People probably think we're just hermits, but we obviously do things together.
Yeah.
y'all don't need to know about this. Why do I want to show you what we did today? I've just never been like that. I don't think I'm so important that I have to tell everyone what I do.
That's exactly how I feel. I've been on social media more because of this podcast, and like on Instagram, like sharing pictures and kind of networking with different podcasts and like trying to get this thing to grow a little bit.
That doesn't sound toxic at all, though. That's more promotion.
No, it's kind of the business side of it, and that's kind of
necessary.
I kind of enjoy that, and so I've been doing that, and that kind of leads us into my next topic. But for y'all out there, if you have kids or you yourself may need to see this, go watch The Social Dilemma on Netflix. It's eye-opening. It'll open your eyes. It should scare you.
Yeah, because of what those big tech companies are doing, and they're saying the main point was they're trying to get these regulations passed because
they need to be regulated.
Yeah, there needs to be. They're like it's the Wild West, man. There's no laws because the boom just happened so quick with the internet and everything money was just pouring in, trillions of dollars to these people over 30 years.
Well,
of the internet.
Did you know there's 6 companies that control the entirety of media, print, television?
I didn't, but I fucking believe it.
There's 6 companies that own the entirety.
And if you own that, you own what people see and believe. So you own
people's
thoughts.
People.
You own the people. Yeah.
Jeff Bezos owns the Washington Post.
Yeah, I know that. And so,
you think they say anything? You think they're critical of Amazon?
Of course not.
Of course not.
They never will be. They were like a lot of those paper companies were close to getting shut down, so they have an unlimited source now. He can just funnel in whatever he wants. He can make his own news. He owns his own news. Who was it? The guy that earned I just remember his last name was Hearst back in the day. That he was like the guy that owned the media. William Randolph Hearst. Randolph Hearst. Like that was the guy. Whatever news he wanted to put out, it went through him.
What was up with his daughter? Media. Like, didn't his daughter get kidnapped or wasn't born or wrapped up with some kind of cult or something?
It's not the Stockholm Syndrome girl, is it?
When we cut, I'm going to look it up because something crazy happened with his daughter, William Randolph Hearst.
I remember that now.
She got caught up like in some kind of cult and she ended up... I'll look it up after we cut.
But yeah, like I'm saying, you own the media, you control what people see, believe, read, have access to any facts. And they were saying like when there's so much fake news or misinformation, you don't know what to believe, and that's fundamentally what we need to know as humans, is what it can be trusted and what can't be. And when you don't know what to trust, you don't know what to believe. They control everything, man. It's fucking scary. It really is. And it says on here that, fake news on Twitter, this is research they've done, and so they know it to be true. Fake news on Twitter spreads 6 times faster than true news. So that's why you see it so much. That's what gets people galvanized and people talking. You could just make shit up. And one guy was saying, like, I believe that this wild conspiracy, I think he used flat earth as an example. And he was like, I can go on Facebook and I can start a community and I can say, give me 1,000 people that also believe in this. And it'll send you 1,000 people that have like-minded thoughts. And you can create a Facebook group. And now you've got this huge conversation going with all these people and all these like-minded people, even though the earth's not fucking flat. I know it. I hope you know it. But there's people, and you could create these groups and spread your word. And just Facebook it's destroying democracy, and it's literally the mecca for misinformation. And
Twitter too.
And Twitter. Social media. I hate social media. I really do.
That's why I don't believe anything I read, and these people get sucked in. Like my
mother-in-law. I always say, take information you think is real, interpret it for yourself, do your own research. That's what they were saying in that movie.
Take both sides.
Yeah,
take both sides. You need to man.
You can't just.
We've gotten to this era of tribalism that is going to destroy this country.
Oh, because not the world.
I think me and you, I lean more right. I think. I don't know if you want to say where you lean, but
I'm lefty.
I think where we've gone wrong is that we can't sit down and have a conversation anymore. If you don't believe the same thing as me, fuck you. You're my enemy.
Yeah, that's how it's become.
You need to be getting information from both sides, and then you need to be. But that's the thing. They don't think we're smart enough as a person to take information and make a decision and make an informed thought on what we think about it.
Yeah, they have.
So they've got to tell us. They've got to spoon feed it.
Yeah,
and they've got to turn us against each other. It's wild.
It was terrifying to watch that, dude. By the end of it, when they're like, "Well, what do you think is the worst situation?" That one guy's like, "Short term, civil war." And then the other person, I forgot what he said, but it was even more terrifying. He was like, it could be the end of everything.
Yeah.
Like, it could literally tear us apart. It's like you said, it's tribalism. It's built to put a wedge in us and just completely separate us. And I was like, man, I totally see that, and it's terrifying.
It's working.
To me. It's working. It's in the early stages, but so far it's chugging along pretty strong.
All right. But yeah, it's called The Social Dilemma.
It's the scariest movie you could watch this Halloween for sure.
Oh, for sure. So that's going to move us into what are we listening to? I'm going to shout out a podcast that has given us some love on Instagram. It's called The Unintelligent Graduates, and it's a couple dudes, and it's kind of like this. They just get on and they chop it up about sports and tech and video games and politics and everything else. And like I said, they've kind of given us some love and some follows and likes on Instagram. So I wanted to shout them out and kind of help them grow. So if you guys like what we do here, go check them out. You can get them on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere else you get your podcast. But they're good dudes over there. They're smart. They have good conversation. So go check them out. What about you? What have you been listening to?
I've been listening to, about once a year, I take the time out to listen to an album from a band called Sleep. The album's called Dope Smoker.
Yeah.
And it's like the mecca of stoner metal. It's actually, the album is 63 minutes long, but it's one song. So it's one song, 63 minutes long.
That's gnarly.
Yeah, and the opening song, or the opening lyric, after like 20 minutes of just riffing, it's follow the smoke, or drop out of life with bong in hand, follow the smoke to the riff-filled land. And it's just their ode to just weed. The cool story about these guys is this was their second album they put out, and they got a big advance, cash advance for this record. And what they did was they just bought copious amounts of weed. They rented out a castle, and then they just went and just recorded this as like their ode to marijuana. And they recorded it. It's 63 minutes of just like the heaviest, like just loving stoner metal song you've ever heard. And then they went to their the record company and was like, all right, we're done. And it's one song for 63 minutes, and the record company was like, you're fucking crazy,
you're fired.
Yeah, we're never gonna release this. Like, that's the stupidest thing we've ever heard. And the band was so adamant. They were like, no, it has to stay this way. They wanted to chop it up into 8 songs. The record label did. They're like, we'll chop it up, like, what is it, like 8 minutes each or whatever, and we'll do it that way. And the band's like, no, it has to stay continuously one giant song. And it actually tore the band apart, which sucks. So that was the last like studio album Sleep put out, was Dope Smoker. They released it one time, and I actually have one of the first release copies of it. And it's somewhere in here, and it's gonna like put Ellie through college one day if stoner metal ever blows up, which is, maybe she'll go to community college. But and then they another record label actually bought the rights to it, and then they chopped it up and re-released it as a CD. Is called Jerusalem, and it's just track 1, track 2, track 3, track 4, track 5, track 6, track 7, track 8. But really, if you genuinely want to hear it, it's the band's called Sleep, Dope Smoker, one song, 63 minutes. Is the heaviest thing you'll hear all year. After they broke up, the guitarist for the band was actually Matt Pike, and he went on to go form High on Fire, which a lot of people like. The drummer and the bassist, because it's a real bass heavy band, because that's how they get like so heavy. It's just heavy bass and drumming, and then just the guitar is almost like a backup effect. The bassist and the guitar, they went on to form a band called Ohm, just O-M. That's another really good band if anyone's into that. I think Ryan might be the only other person I know other than that would listen to this that's heard them. Maybe Zach. Ohm's a really good band, O-M, and just really good stoner metal. Like I said, once a year I got to put it on and just listen to it continue. You have to hear it continuously through. So anyway, it's just real obscure.
It sounds like you didn't have a choice. Like, it's just one song.
It's one song, man. 63 minutes long.
There you go.
Treat yourself.
All right. Well, I think that about does it for this week's episode. Again, we appreciate everybody listening, all the downloads, all the support we've been getting. If you have any comments or questions, please don't hesitate to drop us a line at thedadlabpod@gmail.com. And if you haven't already, or if you do us a solid and go on Apple iTunes and drop us a rating and review, we'd really appreciate it. But for Matt,
I'm Andrew.
We're out.